TSL, so Speedy Standard, been in good form, sells the hand candy, on he goes, a little kick into the pocket, finds Ian Cullinan.
But he's smart enough to run around and give this every chance.
He does just that, but it's a little kick into the middle, and it's a good kick. Picks out Blackburn, who will line up for the opening scorer. In comes Blackburn, kicks it nicely, sneaks it home, and there's a double cobra. They're an errant, and it goes long, looking for Siggins. He's at the races, Sammy Siggins. He'll pick up and stroll towards goal. He's got enough time for a cup of tea, puts it through, and it's another one for Clarence. They're on song here at Lauderdale Oval. It's a kick inside 50. All Lauderdale again. Bill Chambers with a fist down, but it falls to Jones, and on the outside of his right, he just might. He does! 4 on the bounce.
Gets the handball away to Siggins, who's caught up with the footy. And he's been paid holding ball advantage, paid to Callan, and he goes on the left. It's a good looking kick, it's another goal for the Roos. They're on fire here at Lauderdale Oval.
Hill long down the line, again packs everywhere across the field. It's well gathered by Jones, he hands it off for Grace, and it comes to Cullinan. No, he hasn't. Yes, he has. Ian Cullinan from the pocket. I thought he was going to kick it to the top of the square. Smith with a hit out. We'll have a second look at it. Indeed, Siggins. It's taken out through McGuinness, who started in the middle at the centre bounce. Kick forward by Bryce Walsh. It's met by Fisher. He battles with Tute Havea, who comes out with it and hands it off. It's Roberts on the outside of the boot. And it's a perfect start to the second term for the Lauderdale Bombers. Bounces off his chest. Fisher can't gather. Havea with hands over the top, and it'll be Roberts again, and he'll help himself to a second. 2 in a row for Lauderdale Bombers. Wow. It's a ball straight into the guts of the 50. Bailey out muscles Wiggins. Trickles towards goal though. Easy sniffing around this one. Hands out the back from Clarence, and they try and spill it over, but they don't do a good enough job. And Havea soccers through, and it's another for the Dale. Walsh, 1-2s, gets it back. Will give over the top, finds Havea. Inside again, this time 5. He'll eye goal. He gets a good piece of it, and it's through the hey-diddle-diddle. Lauderdale are up and about here at the tip.
Bouncing away, in possession with the Roos now. O'Brien sees it over the line, boundary throwing.
Starts his approach, kicks it nicely, it's coming, and it's through! The Bombers are in front here at Lauderdale Oval. Welcome to Blunston Arena for an absolute cracking round 20 clash between Clarence and Lauderdale. These two teams, when they meet, it's must-watch football, and today it certainly is so, as we get a sneak peek as to what's to come in September. I'm Damian Gill, bringing this one live to you. Alongside me is Chris Rowbottom and the ever-insightful Cam Brown.
G'day Gilly, great to be here at Blunston Arena, and as you say, a little sneak peek for the first week of finals. The ladder can change a little bit, but one thing that can't change is that Week 1 matchup. It will be Clarence and Lauderdale on this very ground. So, interesting as to what we see from both teams, whether or not they go full hammer on tong or leave a few secrets up the sleeve for that first week of finals. I think we might see a bit of funny business in terms of positioning, matchups and game plan as well. But really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Rowie. I don't think if you're the opposition coaches, you wouldn't want to give too much away this afternoon. You'd be wanting to, I guess, to have a good account of yourselves and not get into bad habits. But particularly with matchups and game styles, I don't think you'd be doing too much without knowing that you're going to be playing the same opposition in a couple of weeks' time. But no bigger rivalry than these two. And Lauderdale, we know, have been in the informed competition, Damo, probably for the last 3.5 months, and the only team they haven't beaten, ironically, is Clarence, and we saw them early on in the year in the live stream at Blunston Arena, and Clarence were really impressive that day. Lauderdale, I think that was their 3rd loss in a row, but pretty much since then they've won all their games bar one, ironically, against Clarence at Lauderdale. So look, they'll go in with a bit of confidence, the Roos. Lauderdale heavy favourites in this one, but I expect Clarence to perform pretty well today on their home ground.
Do you think they'll get the monkey off the back today, Lauderdale? What would it do psychologically if they were to fall to the Roos again? That'd be 3 for the season. and we know they're going to play each other first week of the finals.
Well, we know finals, Row, is a completely different game set, isn't it? Different mindset for players and the way teams go about it. We saw that in the AFL last year. But you would think there would be some doubt if, from Lauderdale's perspective, if Clarence could get the job done today, because that would be 3 over them. So certainly that would give them a bit of confidence going in. But Lauderdale, I think, they've been a really classy side, and they've probably snuck up on us, haven't they, Rowie, since about 3 or 4 games into the season, and it's so pivotal for them, isn't it? Now they've finished top 3, because we know in this competition history suggests that you have to be in the top 3 to win the premiership.
The way they've been able to replenish their list in 2017 and bring in 5 or 6 players and get some guns returning from injury, Thor Boscott springs to mind, and get other players such as Dylan Fife to step up to another level has been fantastic, and a credit to the club and the coaching staff. They have blown us all away in terms of expectation, I think. They're the best attacking team in the competition. I think we'll see that again today. Clarence's defence is in. They've got a big job to do today down back at the Roos, just to curb what is the most potent attacker in the competition from Lauderdale. So interesting to see if Josh McGuinness will float forward just to add a little bit more pressure onto that defence and add another element up forward. But yeah, you're right. Lauderdale have all the attributes to go all the way. They've got winners all over the park, and Clarence will be looking to further stamp that psychological edge by beating them once more.
They will, and they're absolutely boosted with the return of their leader, their coach, Jeremy Webberley. He comes in the side, as well as last year's Best and Fairest winner, Jack Gleeson. So a bit of extra muscle there, and Brent Costello's favourite, Aidan Grace, also into the lineup. A bit of a blow, though, for the Roos. Zach Mastrocola, who's been a find for them, been really good defensively, he's out for the season. So that'll hurt, and it'll be interesting to see who steps up in the back 6, because as we said, Lauderdale are very, very good attacking pack.
Well, Damo, we saw them last week, didn't we, at Hobart City, and one of the best games I've seen Alex Hill play, who's played, you mentioned last week, played a lot forward as a junior. We've seen him at underage level and predominantly at senior level playing down back, but I thought he was terrific last week. So having Roberts back will also help them down there. So it's a different look about them, we thought, with a few of those experienced players going out of the lineup last year with Cassidy and the like, that maybe they might struggle to kick goals. But some really good positional switches, hasn't it, from them, and the ability of Wiggins to go back, who was probably going through a bit of a flat spot as a forward. So some really good versatility and coaching shown by Darren Winter with those 2 players.
One late change for Lauderdale. Reece Sutton is out with a groin complaint. Paves the way for Will Gurgle to step in off the emergency list. And I'm not sure if he's made his debut so far this season, but he'll get a Guernsey today in the number 47, so good luck to him. But reasonable out for Lauderdale, Reece Sutton. He's a handy type.
He's been in good nick, and it says a fair bit that he was tagged last week against Hobart City Demons. Mind you, I think that's the first time he's been manned up all season. He seems to have so much space every single game, Reece Sutton. Just a slight groin complaint, so nothing serious there. If it was a final, he would have turned out for the Bombers, but not to be. So he'll come out, and yes, Will Gurgle. What do you know about Big Will, Brownie?
No, not a hell of a lot, to be honest. And we were, thanks for the stitch up on that one.
I'm just happy because usually you've got a dossier of information. You know people's beep tests, you know what they're doing on the track, and we've stumped you with Big Will Gurgle.
Well, you've got to do your plan for your contingencies, and being an emergency, I wasn't across that one, Damo, but we are across Brady Jones. Big milestone for him too, Rowie.
100 games for Brady Jones, of course, coming into this Clarence side. I think it was 2012 after a pretty successful career with the Tigers playing cricket. He's a Kingborough boy originally and has made a really good fist of it for Clarence over the journey. I think he's won a couple of Lefroy medals as a state player. And that just shows he's a player that performs on the big stage. Clarence Lauderdale, pre-finals game and a finals preview. Pretty big stage here today, so I'd be expecting him to have a reasonable outing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly, one Jordan Roberts out for Clarence. They've omitted him, and one Jordan Roberts in for Lauderdale. Back from suspension, that lengthy suspension that caught a lot of attention, the dangerous tackle, but he'll be back in their side. And we saw last time against Clarence, Brownie, Jordan Roberts was actually the player that almost made a fist of it for them. He kicked 4 goals and he was electric, so that's a big inclusion.
He is, and he just gives them a different dimension. Certainly a physical player at centre-half forward, straightens them up a little bit, and certainly a hurly-burly forward who can probably bring other players into the game. And the Roos struggle with a match-up for him. You're quite right, Damo. So he just adds that different dimension. The other one that was in really good form, and Rowie touched on it before, was Josh McGuinness. He was terrific, really steady with ball in hand last week as we look to some of the players and matchups. Looks like Walsh is starting in the middle. He spent a bit of time out on the wing last week against Hobart City, Gilly, so that'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. As we said, I don't think there'll be too many heavy tags in this game today, as we see young Fife going to the wing, and probably looks like Chambers is going to go to him by the look of it.
Well, that's interesting in itself. We're seeing Gabby Chambers follow around Bryce Walsh for the last 2 times these teams have met. Alex Hill's floated forward, so we've seen him start there, and Ryan Wiggins down back. Be interesting what plan they have for Ryan Wiggins. We haven't seen a team run him around too much since he's switched to defence, so be interested to see who they match up on Wiggins. But not far from getting underway. Sammy Siggins in the middle up against Hayden Smith. To call it, Chris Rowbottom.
So the ball is raised in the middle of Blunston Arena. Siren sounds and whistle is blown. It'll be Hayden Smith up against Sam Siggins in the ruck as the ball is slammed in the middle of Blunston Arena. Siggins won it down into the path of a teammate, went and got his own footy and moved it forward for the Clarence. They'll get the first foray forward as Siggins gets a second possession. Forward they go. Standham was over the back. Lauderdale will clean it up here. Anderton has it. Kicking to nobody in particular, just wanted space. He won't get a generous bounce as Cox meets it. Needs it to sit up, does. He'll use his left boot to concede a bit of ground and does so nicely. Finds a teammate there in Wiley who gets things moving forward.
Wish Wilson picks it up, just nudges down the line. Lands on the chest of the opposition in Holmes, but out, says the umpire, and it'll be thrown in. On the broadcast wing here at Blunston Arena. In it comes Siggins and Smith. Siggins gets best position, but Smith over the top, wins down. It comes out the back. Bell Chambers can't gather. Cox grabs it for Clarence. He runs into trouble. He's surrounded by Bombers and they emerge with it. Bryce Walsh on the boot, not his best kick. A little grubber out to the left, bouncing towards the line. It's gathered and well done by Bailey, but he hands it off, and the runner in Douglas runs it straight out of play.
He hasn't played a lot of senior footy, Nathan Douglas. He was an ex-Mariner going back a few years ago, predominantly in the lower leagues for the Roos, but he gets his opportunity today.
So Smith works his way to the front. Ball spills out to McGuinness, who finds Fife over the top. The little handball was good to Bell Chambers. Runs out of room, though, and as does the ball. Chambers sees it out. We'll have another boundary throw in. Left forward pocket. So fast start. Not the cleanest footy on offer. Jake Cox with a couple of early disposals. Ping holding the ball as Smith won it down. Boscott was fighting hard in there. Went back, tried to get his own footy. Franklin came bursting through. Couldn't win a handball out, and it'll be all wrapped up.
It's hot in the kitchen early here, boys. Good physical pressure, and what you come to expect from these two teams is the ball comes up. One down by Smith. Boscott races onto it. Gets it on the boot. Not convincing. Falls to Alex Hill. Tries to find Boscott again, but doesn't get rid of it legally. It'll be a Keegan Wiley ball. Geez, I tell you what, I thought Boscott was just away there. Thought we were going to see the first goal on the board. As it comes out of defence off the boot of Wiley, picked up by Bushner, slaps it on the boot, picked up by Anderton of the opposition. Just navigates traffic, but finds a couple of red and white soldiers. It's picked up by Bushner. He's tackled well by Wish Wilson. Back for Scott Hill. Hands out. Wiggins in some space. Uses it well, but not by foot. Falls for Williams. Shakes one. Just a nudgy little kick over the top. He'll find Ray Hill. Ray Hill has a look inside 50. Boscott gets rid of his opponent. He's got space and time. He tries the dribbler. It's a shocker, but it's fallen to Hill. Got a couple to deal with. Drops it off. Looking for Williams. Out the back is Havea. Can't get hands out. Red and white everywhere. And this one, I think, no, it won't be a ball up as Roberts somehow burrows in, wins the ball, finds Boscott, and it's holding the ball.
Gee, it's tight, boys, isn't it, on pressure on the ball carrier. I thought Boscott there in the forward pocket had a little bit of time there to probably run around and have a shot at goal.
He probably did. He had Hill waiting for it, went the dribbler, and it was unsuccessful as Clarence hold the footy here. Left half back, little kick for looking for O'Brien. Wasn't great. McGuinness will emerge with it. The umpire says bring it back. It was high contact.
Every chance I clip up that little one of Boscott and send it through to Jason Dunstall and bounce, to be honest. That was a shocker.
Not his finest. I don't think Piggy Dunstall will be too happy with it as Webberley gets his first disposal for the afternoon. Kicks to half forward. It was magically roved here. Clarence looked forward. He's standing. Shoots towards goal and puts it through.
Gee, that was a textbook crumb. Beautifully called, Rowie. And look, he burst in inside 50, had a couple of bounces. There were a couple of Clarence players making space, but they were pretty well manned up by Lauderdale, so he was quite within his rights to have a shot for goal, and inside 30 made no mistakes. A great crumbing goal there for the Clarence stalwart in Trent Standen.
Bread and butter stuff for Trent Standen. He puts Clarence on the board there, 1 straight 6. Lauderdale yet to score.
Back in the middle. Lauderdale, will they have the quick reply? Up it goes. Won by Smith, down for Bryce Walsh. He's only got one arm free, but somehow gets out of trouble. Gets on the boot as Jones is bearing down and bouncing inside 50, busting through his heavy. Can't gather. It's picked up by Webberley with a shake and a bake. He finds a teammate. Douglas has his ball blocked. It's picked up. Handed out for Heavey. Tries a little merry dance. Hands it off for a teammate. Back for Walsh. Pressure is high early in this one as the ball comes long inside 50, punch clear of Hill, falls for Boscott. He puts it on the boot and through the big sticks. Lauderdale reply.
Well, he's looked lively, hasn't he? And he bounced up there, terrific reflexes, and we saw him fly for the mark. He obviously made a terrific contest, but he was the first to pounce on the loose ball. And a really important goal as he comes to the bench for a rest.
It's actually Boscott's third shot on goal, if you count that sort of first one where he was tackled, and the little dribbler as well that missed the mark. His third one was third time lucky because he kicks his first for the afternoon. He could be in for a big one. Back in the middle, Smith won it down. Walsh got a bad bounce, but he'll get the handball here. Thought about giving it to Fife, but it opts to just tumble it forward. It's met solidly by Hill, who went after it again, but players will converge and it'll be all locked up.
I actually think that's our man Will Gurgle. The gurgler.
Up for his first disposal, the gurgler. As Siggins won it down into the hands of O'Brien. He had a runner going past in Harper, who just moved it forward. Wiggins playing across half-back this afternoon. Missed the mark with the handball. They'll look to clear out here. Lauderdale, dangerous kick. Umpires pluck something. It'll be a Lauderdale free kick, and they'll get to reset.
It was Wade Wall coming in late on Scott Hill there, Rowie, as the ball comes long down the line. It's picked up by Alex Hill. He's got a great set of hands, does Alex Hill. He hands it off to Dylan Fife. The little pocket rocket, a nudgy ball inside, not his best. It's made to look okay by Ray Hill. Pressure coming, and then dumping in the tackle is Fife, and that'll be a ball up inside Lauderdale's forward 50, the broadcast side. So 1 goal straight apiece early in this affair at Blunston Arena. Up they go. It's Havea, who taps down for himself. In traffic finds Roberts, tries to almost run it out. He had less space than he thought there, Jordan Roberts, and it'll be thrown in.
All locked in here in the Lauderdale forward 50. Another stoppage. In it comes. Nobody able to work their way to the front. 2 Lauderdale players fight over it. Robbers, 1 possession, gave it off to Havea, but he was called holding the ball.
Jeez, I don't know about that, boys.
41 handball out there to Ty Havea.
Brownie, thoughts there?
Yeah, look, he tried to bustle his way through, obviously, Damo, and maybe the umpires want to assert themselves on those players, but probably a little stiff as Clarence worked their way deep in defence here.
So Wish Wilson, all this happening by hand as it's moved out to Gleeson. Short kick is good to Webberley. He spreads it wide. And look to Bill here. That's an ordinary kick from Gleeson. He'll turn the ball over here on the wing for Lauderdale. And it's going to be all wrapped up on the outer side here. So 1 straight apiece.
Clarence in the purple socks today. I believe that's for Matty Rewalt's vision.
Great cause. as usual, they do a bit of work for Matty Revolt's vision. Obviously, the connection there with that cause Clarence as Cox tries to work it forward. He's standing, got one high maybe, but did well enough to get his kick away. Fortuitous kick, and that's a nice ball inside.
It was a shocker from Chambers. He coughs it up, and they might just be away here, Lauderdale. McGuinness, the hooker, he pretty much took it, but dropped it at the last instant. Did well to tackle. Wiley gathers. A blocked ball comes inside 50. Taken by Williams. He receives back from Bill Chambers and then farmed out with Bryce Walsh out on the wing looking for McGuinness. Brings it under his spell. Tries to shake off Wiley. Gets a bit of help from our man. Gets it moving, does McGuinness. A bouncing ball over the head of Hill. Can he gather? No, he can't. Coming out of defence through Gleeson come Clarence. Looking for Grace. It's blocked away. On hands and knees is Jones. Gets it out of congestion, but he sold Gleeson into trouble. Wrapped up in a crunching tackle. There'll be a ball up on the edge of the square.
Lots of pressure on the ball carrier at the moment. Both teams struggling to really have any strong forays inside 50 where they've got some space and time with the footy.
So up it goes. It'll be Wall and Smith. Nobody able to win the tap. Havea won the footy. Got a little handball out. Lauderdale will go inside 50 now. The ball was a wonderful one. Pinpoint pass. And Lauderdale will line up for a shot on goal. 25 metres out, slight angle.
Well, it'll be a tough day, I would think, today for Bailey because, as we mentioned, pre-game, Hill's been in some really good form and looks like he knows his way around that forward line. He gets an opportunity with a set shot here to bring up Lauderdale second. So
Alex Hill, deliberate approach, sends it on its way. He's tugged it to the left, though. Not his finest. That's a minor score.
It's a beautiful bit of use by Bill Chambers to find him in the first place. He's had a good year as Phil Bill Chambers.
Yeah, must improve player, versatile player, and he's got better at this level each and every year.
As Wiley brings it long out of defence, a big booming ball. Under it is Harper. Takes the mark and moves inside. Not a good decision. Bill Chambers takes the ball on the paint of 50. He's got Fife all on his own. Finds him. In late was Bushnut. He's milked that a little bit, I think, Fifey. The pocket rocket. He's got Wiggins offering short.
Needs Hill.
Denies that. Long it comes, Boscott and Hill. Hill tries to get the arms up. It's plucked from a Clarence player, and they're immediately gathered in a tackle, and it'll be a ball up deep in attacking 50 for the Bombers.
Keegan Wiley emerges from the bottom of that pack. Almost claimed an unlikely mark. It's Smith won it down. Chased there by Gurgle. Did some really nice work to evade a tackler. Got a shot off on goal, but missed to the near side. Another minor score for Lauderdale. They're 1-2-8. Clarence 1 straight 6. Interesting start to this one at Blunston Arena.
It's been mainly buried in this half of the ground, hasn't it, boys? Lauderdale yet to make them pay.
An ordinary bit of play out there as the ball dribbles out of bounds on the outer side. We'll have another boundary throw in. It's been a game of stoppages thus far. So Lauderdale had the run of the play in the inside 50s. Can they capitalise? It's one down by Wall. Smith has the ball. Gave it back to a Lauderdale teammate, but that's another scrappy kick. And Clevercamp sees it out.
Really good education today for one of the younger players for Lauderdale, Mitchell Anderton, who's picking up Ian Cullen, and the different players will rotate through, we know that, but certainly spent a bit of time on him in the first quarter, so a really good education for him today.
Great point, Brownie, as Heavey picks it up, just puts it inside 50 and looks for a runner, and that's Bill Chambers, who takes a great grab.
Well, he's got some athleticism, hasn't he? And certainly nimble on his feet, and he's quite powerful, isn't he, in the core there, and jumped up, and this is probably the part of his game, Damo, that he's been trying to work on over the years. It probably is his kicking, so let's hope for his confidence he can drill this one.
Well, let's have a look in the loud fluoro boots. Starts his approach beyond the arc. Phil Bill Chambers hooks it well wide. In fact, out on the full. Disappointing for the Bombers.
Had their chances, Lauderdale, early in this one. As we've mentioned, ball's been locked in. The Lauderdale forward 50, that's Not a bad pass in the end to find O'Brien. He gives it off to Michael Fisher, running through half back. He finds Wade Wall, and Clarence looked a bit, but he kicked it straight into the man on the mark. Webley there will look for the handball from Buchner. Gets it running past. Webley sets sail for home, but he won't have the legs. It was kicked straight over the top, and it lands straight into the waiting arms of Ed Stanley, who finds Wiggins in the back pocket. Short one is good to Anderton, but a little bit of late contact came from Callanan. Did enough to affect the spoil and did it legally. Harper sent a little ball inside. Callanan swooped, gave it off to Buchner, couldn't collect the beans. Players will converge. Walsh fighting hard, trying to win it back. Callanan again will snap around the corner. Flying shot on goal. Little bounce out of bounds. Callanan lively.
Yeah, he was lively. They just needed Zach Bushner to be a lot cleaner in that contest there. He had a half chance there. Confidence player, if he can certainly get his hands on the footy and find some time and space. He's got some great athleticism and speed.
So in it comes Siggins and Smith. Smith wins it down, looking for McGuinness. Clevercamp comes in. He's picked up the ball, but he's got a player bearing down. Finds Anderton. A scrubby old kick works. Okay. It's taken by Havia.
They've got a pretty good defence set back up here, Rowie, at the moment. Clarence have got plenty of numbers back.
As the ball comes long from Havea, Boscott does well to jostle for position but can't take the ball. Robert somehow emerges with it. Hands inside 50, looking for Boscott to run and gather. Wiley interrupts. Hands off for O'Brien. Castle does well, just puts it out for Harper. On the paint of the square, Harper will just slow things down. A little kick. Finds Siggins, centre wing, broadcast side. He's got Ling offering inside. Denies that option. He'll go long down the line. That's where he heads, looking for Blackburn. In best position is McGuinness. Doesn't take the grab. Over for Wiggins. Moves it from right to left to find Anderton. He'll be sweating on Callanan. He just nudges inside. It's not a good kick at all. O'Brien tries to gather. He's got 3 or 4 Bombers around him, and they do well to the Bombers. Handed out. Stanley met in a crunching tackle, and that'll halt any momentum. It'll be a ball up inside 50 this time for the Roos.
Difficult for both teams because from a forward perspective, they're rolling 1 or 2 numbers back. So that's what was hard for Siggins in that kick before. He had Wiggins waiting behind.
Flying shot came out from Chambers. It'll be gathered at the foot of the contest by McGuinness. He was tackled. Might have been a little bit lucky there. A little bit of 1-2 with Bryce Walsh. Lauderdale can't clear 50.
Free kick.
Umpire will pick out a free kick, and Clarence now have their chance to kick their second.
It was there, I think, boys.
Yeah, it was just a bit overzealous, I think, on that occasion, the Lauderdale player there. Just been a bit of a scramble, hasn't it, boys? Particularly inside 50. But Harper, who's normally a pretty good set shot for goal, Rowie, you'd expect him to kick this one.
Pretty rudimentary shot this. He's kicked from probably 25 metres out, 30 tops, directly in front. A little bit of wind. But he should navigate this through, but he doesn't. He misses left-hand side, and kicking hasn't been fantastic so far in this one. Not sure what the wind's doing at ground level, but it's doing a little bit up here.
It has been a scramble and a scrap, this one so far. Neither team has had it on their terms as it comes long from Stanley. Out of the wing, and Sammy Siggins takes a clunk. A good mark from the big man, puts it inside 50, but finds Clevercamp. He'll be breathing a sigh of relief after that miss from Harper. Clevercamp, just a pokey little kick outside 50, not far enough, says the umpire. McGuinness throws it on the boot, long down the line, looking for Smith. Siggins in better position, and he sees it out. Good to see around the grounds, Brownie, up on the scoreboard here at Blunston Arena. Western Bulldogs, your mob on top.
Yeah, not getting a poor run at the moment from the umpires too, so it's a handy effort in those circumstances to be 7 points in front.
O'Brien went in hard as Clarence tried to move it towards their forward 50. Jake Cox, something a little bit fortuitous. He falls into the hands of Trent Standard, who sent another flying shot on goal, and he misses again to the left-hand side. Wiggins will resume things and find his man at centre-half back in Josh McGuinness, who's starting to have an influence on this game.
Starting to get a bit of it, isn't he? I wouldn't mind, Cam Brown, you do your best weatherman work because the wind has picked up here at Blunston Arena.
Yeah, definitely in the last 5 or 10 minutes, boys.
Wiley flew, couldn't take the mark. Players will converge. That Franklin is on top of that pack. Not sure who's on the bottom. Whoever it is will emerge, though, with the footy. It's Jared Harper.
Rain starting to tumble down, so the elements play a factor.
Avea won it down. Jones went off the ground, only as far as Lauderdale player in Franklin. Some calls for on the fall off his boot, but it'll be a throw-in. It's the weather starts to just maybe become a factor in this one. Little update from UTAS Stadium, North Launceston off to a ripping start. They're 6-2-38, Burnie yet to score, so things looking ominous there as Dylan Fife wins the ball on the wing. Little ball is good into Thor Boscott, looking to wheel and go. That was a dicey old kick. It was fortuitous though. Fisher missed the mark, but then went back with the tackle and won a holding the ball free kick. Nice work, Michael Fisher.
Both teams really keen to go through the corridor and happy to bite off some risks there. And on that occasion, probably wasn't the right play for Boscott. And Clarence had the numbers back.
So Grace, just a little kick, speared into O'Brien. He tries to find Chambers, misses him, standing involved for an instant, picked up by Scott Hill, looking for Heavey. Heavey on the ground, tries to just shovel it out, finds Stanley, who can't get it moving Lauderdale's way. It's just put inside 50 for Clarence, picked up by Cox. He's got a couple to contend with, throws it on the boot, lucky to get it away. Jones picks it up, looking for Wall, racing towards the line. He's got Havea tracking him. A little handball inside, finds Franklin of the opposition. Over for McGuinness, beyond 50 now. It's picked up. Williams on the boot. They're sliding in. It was Roberts, and I'm not too sure who the Clarence player is, but they just slid in like it was a slip and slide, and neither could gather the ball, and we'll have a ball up on the wing.
Well, at this rate, Rowe, it's not going to be a long quarter. We're 20 minutes in and just the 2 goals scored.
Stoppages are plenty, only the 2 goals scored. Not a bad call, Brownie. Looking at a long quarter as Wade Wall wins a free kick. Just held out of that ruck contest. So
I'm just holding back here, Rowe, because McGuinness is back there too. Wiggins loose in defence.
So when it goes inside forward 50, Lauderdale will come out through Fife, who managed to get it on the boot, but it'll only go as far as Jones, who wants to get things moving. Little ball inside is good. Scott Holmes round the back to Cox. He'll use his left foot here. That's not his best though. Still a tumbling ball inside forward 50. Stanley gathered it. Bombers will run it out here through McGuinness. Handball's wide. Players allowed to go on. As 2 players emerge behind the ball. Chance here now for Hill as he sends the Bombers forward. He's got Boscott one out in the forward 50. Gets a favourable bounce. Great one-on-one contest here. Boscott wins over his man. Picks up the footy, but there's been a free kick called. He was pushed out, Bailey.
Gee.
Thought that was a pretty good jostle from Boscott.
Oh, I did, and it looks like Bailey's got up limping. It was a really good contest. Bailey pushed back hard. It was a terrific kick from Hill to advantage for Boscott, and in the end he just kept his feet. I just thought he worked him under the footy beautifully, but the umpire's a lot closer than us, don't mate?
Yeah, that's right. I thought the same as you, but you're right about the umpires. A lot closer than we are up here in the sky at Blunston Arena. Long down the line goes O'Brien. Misses his target and it bounces out for a throw-in. Far wing here at Blunston Arena. The score, 1-8 apiece between Clarence and Lauderdale. Bitter rivals. Preview of the finals to come. It's a mouth-watering matchup. The ball comes in, Siggins and Smith. Smith in best position and wins it, but doesn't find a teammate. In comes Cox for Clarence and runs it over.
How do the dynamics of this game change now, Brownie, with the weather starting to play a part? The rain is tumbling here at Blunston Arena.
Well, it's just going to be that grunt midfield, I think. The team that's in and under, willing to get their hands dirty, so to speak, and it becomes a real scrap, doesn't it? And more, as you said before, Rowie, more stoppages, more contested ball situations. So you wouldn't think there's going to be a lot of open, free space for both teams today. So in many respects, I like Clarence in these sorts of conditions.
Siggins and Smith was one down to Franklin. He was claimed immediately by Ling. I'll have it, says the umpire. Ball trapped at right half forward for Lauderdale. All square down at the Twin Ovals. Glenorchy and Tigers duking it out in Jay Bowden's 200th. 2-2-14 apiece as Lauderdale get it forward inside 50. Cox will meet it solidly. He was swung out of the tackle. Bombers will emerge with it here. Here's Gurgle, who picked it up cleanly in the wet. Still going, Gurgle. Showed one way then the other. Couldn't quite fire off a handball, and ball goes out of bounds.
Looked okay, the Gurgler.
Yeah, he's shown a bit, hasn't he? Just hasn't found the big sticks yet, but yeah, he's looked lively. As the ball comes back in. Attacking 50 for Lauderdale. Smith wins it down, but it's probably to the advantage of the Roos. Picked up by Bell Chambers. He's met with a solid tackle. Fife now down, trying to get it out of traffic. He's met with a couple of Roos. They appeal for holding the ball, not to be.
So it does make it hard, doesn't it, from a Clarence perspective? They've certainly, Lauderdale have pushed all their numbers up here.
It's one down, straight for Roberts. Does well. He's a strong man, is Roberts. It's swung inside 50. Third man up is Wiley, and he takes the mark. Down the line he goes. Bushner takes a mark. Looks inside. Finds Gabby Chambers. Not sure that's who he was looking for. Then he swings it around, finds Wall, a bouncing ball towards Standen. He doesn't mind it on the deck though, Speedy Standen. Hands it off for the milestone player in Jones. Then to Harper, then to Wall. A chain of handballs here from the Roos, but they might have run themselves into trouble. Harper just swings it around. Might just favour the Bombers. Out the back is Callanan, and the little master puts it through.
Well, it's that sort of day, I think, for the small forwards where they're going to be difficult, I think, the way this game's being played, for the tall forwards to have a real impact. Certainly the way both teams are setting up defensively. And it was well worked there. Young Wiley started that with a terrific kick to Bushner. Harper was involved. It was a bit of a scrambled kick, and all of a sudden, with all these years of experience and nous around the forward 50 row, it was Ian Callanan. So the two small forwards for the Roos with the goals already in this game.
When in doubt, just call on that man, Ian Callanan. He breaks the deadlock, and Clarence now 2-2-14 as the siren sounds to mark the end of the first term. A real arm wrestle. And as we just mentioned, Ian Callanan breaking the deadlock late. Clarence a 2-2-14. Lauderdale a 1-2-8 end of the first quarter. Interesting clash, boys.
Well, it is. I think it's going to be a real arm wrestle. I'm not sure what both teams got out of that. Obviously, Clarence will go on with a little bit of confidence with that last goal, but certainly it's been played between the arcs, and it's made it difficult for both teams. Particularly, we saw a lot of that repeat entries from Lauderdale, but Clarence had the numbers back too to nullify a lot of those entries. So interesting to see how the second quarter sets up, if there'll be any positional changes. Not sure whether Clarence have the opportunity to push Siggins forward, just maybe to have something different there. Lauderdale looked pretty steady down back. I thought Wiggins has been pretty good, Damo, and also McGuinness. He's just so composed and got a lot of poise down there with ball in hand.
Yeah, it's a funny old ball game so far. Not what I expected. I expected some free-flowing football and some pretty football. It's been anything but so far. The goal kickers, just quickly, there's not too many of them, so easy to skip through. The small forwards have got the job done for Clarence. Ian Callanan and Trent Standen on the board, and Thor Boscott has the only major for Lauderdale. But it's a lead for Clarence here at Blunston Arena in what is a preview for September action to come. We'll have a brief break now. Stay with us. So back for the second term here at Blunston Arena. A slender lead for the home side, the Clarence Roos. 2-2-14 plays 1-2-8. It's been a scramble and a scrap so far, hasn't it, boys?
Certainly has. Lots of stoppages. Only the 3 goals scored. Clarence, 2 of them. Lauderdale, 1 of them. And the small forwards have been prevalent as well. The goals have come from Callanan and Trent Standen as the sun shines now. There was a bit of rain in that first quarter, but hopefully it dries out and we see some nice, fast, free, flowing footy.
Yeah, an interesting one, Ro, just down in front of us, and it happened late in that first quarter in the contest with Thor Boscott, but Jason Bailey, just in the hands of the trainers at the moment, he won't start this second quarter, so a different matchup now for Boscott in the goal square for Clarence.
It's a big blow if he can't take it any further apart as the ball goes back in the centre. They all scramble in. It was a weird old ball up, that one. It comes clear. Might just favour Brady Jones. Stanley onto it first. He's crunched in a Jones tackle. Webley tries to pick it up. Can't gather. O'Brien gathers, gives it to Webley. Gets it out to Siggins. Throws it on the left boot. Coming long and high. It bounces out the back. McGuinness tries to pick it up. Can't gather. Bushner on the ball. He more or less throws it and then just pokes it through. And it might just be called out in the full here as the umpires come together.
I think he's called the throw that you originally said, Gilly. And he's paid the free kick.
So
against Bushner.
He has paid a free kick and it was a throw. So it comes out of defence. Wiggins to Walsh, who gets some room on O'Brien and takes a good mark. The Lauderdale skipper looks down to a crowded wing. A lot of numbers on short, so he opts to go long. It favours Grace, stands under it, doesn't take the mark. Franklin tries to get it moving Lauderdale's way. Hooker bustles in, a weird little bump. It's Wiley who tries to pick it up. Gathered by Alex Hill. He loses it. It's picked up by Webley, swung in a tackle. The ball punched back the other way. It's a scramble on the wing here. Fisher can't pick it up. Clevercamp gives it to the opposition. It's farmed out. Douglas receives back from Cox. There for Wiley. Throws it onto the left boot. Long down the line, out on the full.
So again, scrappy old start to this second term as Bryce Walsh just dries off the footy. So still a little bit wet underfoot. So Walsh will resume things, just sends a high ball to half forward. Pack will fly, nobody able to take the mark. Fell to Heavey, couldn't gather it cleanly. Clevercamp tracked it to the boundary. It's kept in. Little ball forward from Hill. Will be chopped off down there by the Clarence defender in Wiley.
Been pretty good, Wiley.
He goes short to Fisher. Wanted to keep going, but thought better of it. Handball back to Wiley. He's hugging the goal line, and that's not a great kick out in the direction of his Clarence teammate, and it'll spill out of bounds for another throw-in on the outer side.
Mentioned in the call before, Damo Campbell Hooker, pretty quiet first quarter for him. He was pretty good last week with multiple goals against Hobart City.
He has been good, Hooker. He's kicked 50 in the Mercury Cup so far this season, and before getting into this senior side, a hard one to get into. Lauderdale turn it over as they look to get inside 50. Webley on the end of it for the Roos. Pokes it outside 50, finds Cox, who turns and burns. Gets it moving. An ugly old punt. It's picked up, though, and gathered nicely by Standen. He's looking for Blackburn, who's done well to get away from his opponent. He'll cross the paint and find Callanan out on the lead, on the chest, Ian Callanan. And he'll look to go back and put through his second of the afternoon.
Smart play by Michael Blackburn. Just took the mark and looked like he was going to play on and potentially go deep with a long kick into the forward line, but just waited, had the presence of mind to see Ian Callanan just running into space and laid it on nicely for him. And Callanan, you wouldn't expect him to make any mistakes from here.
So Ian Callanan approaches the mark. The little master off the right boot and out to the left. Not his best, and through for a minor score. So Clarence increase their lead by just one behind. 2-3-15 plays 1-2-8.
So in it comes, long ball out to left half forward. It's off hands, falls into the path of Walsh, who gets things moving, finds Boscott, reliable hands. He gave the handball off, and wasn't his finest. In fact, he did throw it. And either way,
That's 50 metres, I reckon.
so a comedy of errors there from
Against
Lauderdale.
Cleaver Camp. So a bit disappointing there. Timmy Castle is the one that's got the match up now on Thor Boscott. So not sure whether this is necessarily in Tim Castle's skill set here, Gilly, the shot on goal.
Looks to pass it off. Sees something he likes inside 50, and I think it's Bushner. Takes a nice mark in the midst, and he looks like he'll go back and have a shot. Attempt to kick Clarence's third goal.
Just a quick one on Boscott. Was he just a bit too eager to get going then?
Yeah, he certainly plays on instinct. Him and Bell Chambers, they love to wheel and go and take the game on. And you're right, probably in that moment would have liked to have a little bit more poise. Zach Bushner is a big kick of the footy here, Rowie, so you give it every chance.
So distance won't be a problem according to Cam Brown, but accuracy will be, as he too tugs a ball to the left. It's another minor score for Clarence.
Just a little update from UTAS Stadium, North Launceston 47. Bernie yet to score at quarter time. Tommy Bennett with 7 marks inside 50 in the opening quarter.
That's a wonderful kick inside 50 from Ben Ling, and Jake Cox will have Clarence's third shot on goal in about as many minutes when he kicks from only 35 metres out, 40 metres out, slight angle. Wonderful kick of the footy, Jake Cox. Would not expect him to make a mistake here.
Well, it's a really important kick because Clarence have had repeat inside 50s, as you mentioned, Rowie. And in a low-scoring game, when you've got the ascendancy in your forward line, you just have to make the opposition pay.
So in comes Cox, pulls the trigger. It's not the most attractive-looking kick, but it does the job. Jake Cox kicks his first, and Clarence have their third. And ironically, the ugliest kick of them all got over the goal line and provided the maximum.
Well, that's what he can do. Obviously, normally he's a better kick off the boot than that, but more so his ability to push forward. And we've seen him play some terrific games, kick multiple goals out of the midfield and also when resting up forward. So he's a difficult matchup for any opposition. And that's what Clarence can do, don't they? They've got those small forwards that they can roll back there at different times just to give them a bit of a look. An important goal for Clarence and a handy 14-point lead.
Back in the middle, it's one down and falls to Siggins. He'll find Jake Cox, the most recent goal scorer. Still inside the square. Nice ball inside 50. Straight on the chest of Standen. He'll go back. Interesting whether this is in his range.
I reckon it's right on his range, Gilly.
So Standen fancies himself. A couple of skips. Onto the boot, gives it everything, long it comes, and it's an easy mark almost, I thought, by Blackburn. Doesn't quite take it. It's scurried clear by McGuinness, tapped away by Smith. It was smart work. Heavey gets it out to Roberts. Smith down the wing. Campbell Hooker does well. And he runs into a bit of trouble and drops it out of play, and will be thrown back in.
Gee, that looked like a mark on the goal line just about.
Yeah, it was Blackburn, I think, and he all but took the mark, I reckon, Ro.
And a fair old piece of it. The ball comes in on centre wing. It's one down by Smith, who went and won his own handball, who was only chopped off as far as Gleeson, who won a handball off. It's turned back over to Boscott, who sends Lauderdale forward. It's a 2-on-1 to Clarence. Off hands, Hervea's there. Couldn't gather. Grace could. Sends a little smart ball out wide, and that'll be 50. So, not sure what the Lauderdale player was thinking there. Clearly didn't think it was the required journey. Umpire said it was. And it'll be another 50-metre penalty here to Clarence.
It's like a spark at the moment, Lauderdale, particularly forward of centre. Just one of the, some of those small forwards, mid-sized forwards need to come into the game for them.
So Holmes assesses his options. Little skimming ball. He's plucked by heel. His ball across the ground isn't the finest because it only went as far as Grace. Little kick around the corner, and that's a wonderful mark taken out there by Fisher. Plays on immediately, sends a ball towards goal, and he's got a man in the square in Siggins who runs back and takes the mark. And Siggins will kick for goal from directly in front. He won't miss this. All set up by Michael Fisher, who took a wonderful mark at half forward. Siggins pops it through. Clarence have their fourth, and they're out to a 20-point lead here at Blunston Arena.
Well, bad turnover there from Lauderdale. They'll be disappointed with that. But you mentioned terrific play from Fisher and just hit the top of the goal square. And Siggins, that's where he's so very dangerous. He's athletic. We know he's that mobile ruckman that is willing to push forward inside the forward 50, and that's what he did on that occasion. And danger signs here, early days obviously in this game, but Clarence 3 in this second quarter look on top.
They're well on top. The Clarence Roos here at the pouch, as they call it, otherwise known as Blunston Arena, back in the middle. Avea and Siggins. Siggins gets hands on it, not decisively. Swatted clear by Franklin. He finds a teammate in Fife. Bouncing towards Clever Camp, who switched forward. Comes to Bell Chambers. Puts it high and long. Looking for Wiggins. And he takes the mark. Tremendous clunk by Wiggins. And he'll go back and look to pop it through.
Well, he had Aiden Grace for size there and certainly used his body work beautifully. The kick certainly favoured him as well. So important kick here for him as he's moved forward. Good coaching move too from Darren Winter. Not a lot was happening deep forward for Lauderdale, so just a different mix here, and we know he's a proven forward.
In comes Wiggins, pokes it through, and that's exactly what Lauderdale needed, just to stop that Clarence momentum.
So Lauderdale hit back through Wiggins, and as you said, Brownie, the change has been made. They probably need one of Wiggins at each end of the ground because he was playing some pretty good footy down back, but that's what happens when you've got a forward as talented as he is. It's a little bit of a luxury. He's gone back to his natural position and taken a great mark and kicked Lauderdale's second goal of this game as we go back into the middle. High knee there from Havea. That'll be a free kick to Wall. Umpire says play on. It'll be kicked inside 50 in the Cox direction. Rove beautifully there by Webley, and he's got a man on in the goal square. Siggins will kick his second from the goal square in as many minutes. Clarence hit straight back.
Yeah, look, terrific use, wasn't it, of the footy there by Webley. The easy thing to do would have been to blaze away, but he just lowered his eyes and saw again Sam Siggins running in the space. He just lost his opponent there in Alex Hill in the contest. Just as we say that, it looks like Siggins is pushing deep forward now on Alex Hill, and a good response there from the Roos. Smart use of the footy by the captain coach.
Smart coaching too. Siggins having an impact up there as it comes back in the middle. Havea up high again. Wall wins down. Jones can't gather. Picked up by Boscott. He's tackled and loses it. It'll be a Clarence ball. Advantage played. Ling drops it off. But he sold Harper into all sorts of trouble, and it's ball.
Just didn't need to handball it, Ling. He handballed it to someone under pressure.
Franklin down the wing, looking for Havea. He can't gather. It's picked up nicely. Good bit of work by Adams. Finds Boscott. Keen to get moving. Drops it off, finds Williams. There for Ray Hill. And Hill will take a mark and go back. Been a prominent goal kicker in recent times. Kicked 5 up against the Dockers 2 weeks ago. He'll line up for his first of the afternoon.
He hasn't got his hands on the footy a lot. He's one of those mid-small forwards that I mentioned, Damo, about 5 minutes ago that need to work their way into the game, and he gets an opportunity here.
So in comes Ray Hill. And offline, I think, or has he snuck it home? He likes it, and that's why through the middle. So this game has sprung to life at Blunston Arena. After a rather drab first quarter, we're starting to see a bit of action here.
Yeah, Ray Hill, he's one that they'll look to bring into the game now. He's been a notable goal kicker for Lauderdale this year. That's his first for the afternoon. Interesting to see if he can bob up with a couple more. Nice work out of the middle of the ground from Lauderdale. Set that one up. And you're right, Gilly, the game has sprung to life. Plenty happening here at Blunston Arena as the ball is slammed back into the turf. It's one out there by Lauderdale, but only as far as Jones, who sends Clarence forward once more. A one-on-one at half forward involving 2 players. It's one off to Buchner, but the umpire calls a throw. Advantage is called. McGuinness, no, umpire says we'll bring it back. McGuinness wanted to get and go.
You almost penalised the side then.
Yep. Lauderdale will reset centre half back. So here's Stanley. Little kick inboard is good. That's not such a great one, but it'll work out to McGuinness, who has it at half forward. He'll look to probably just pump it long. Just dabs one over the top. Don't know about it, but Hill comes back, and here he is. So Hill, another mark inside 50. We spoke about getting him involved in the game. He's thinking about having a shot for goal.
That's what you've got to do as a mid-forward. Just find those little pockets of space there to run into. And it was a smart kick from McGuinness. Hill gets his second opportunity from a set shot, different side of the ground.
So in comes Hill, pulls the trigger. He'll push it across the face, though. And it's a wonderful mark taken on the goal line by Wiggins. And this Wiggins move forward is bearing fruit. He'll shoot for his second. No gimme from this angle.
And this is where they're stretching him, Rowie, with Bailey off the ground. So it makes it difficult. They've thrown Grace down on him. Looks like he's got his hands full.
So Wiggins opens up the angle but sends it across the face. And that's an opportunity gone begging for Lauderdale.
That's where sometimes Wiggins can let himself down. Just need to put those ones away. But you're right, it's been a good coaching move with Bailey off the ground. A nudgy little kick taken by Brady Jones to get things back moving. He finds Keegan Wiley. In back pocket, Wiley looking for O'Brien. Bit off more than he could chew. Finds Roberts of the opposition, who goes long, and luckily for Clarence, Callinan's on hand to swoop. He moves it well. Finds Douglas. He finds Blackburn on a lead. He's an eager beaver. Gets it moving. Down the line looking for Castle. It was all red and black. And it's taken by Franklin.
Been pretty quiet, Franklin.
He has indeed. He has indeed. As comes to Bryce Walsh. Looking inside 50. Under it is Clever Camp. He's got a couple of roos to deal with, namely Grace. He burrows into Clever Camp. Can't emerge with it. Ball up.
Having said that, Nat Franklin hasn't spent much time in those contested situations around stoppages and clearances. Been out of the centre square for a large majority of this game, so a different role for him.
So up it goes. Wall wins it down to the runner. He sent his man into trouble, Blackburn, because he was standing still. Callanan it was with the handball. Lauderdale looking to fight it out. Here's Boscott. Feeds it out to Fife. Little handball over the top is good. Little dodgy, weavy one. Handball back the other way. Callanan couldn't gather. Thor Boscott hitches a ride. And he wins one of his own. He's given away a few free kicks today, Boscott. But he claims the Clarence player in the tackle and wins a holding the ball free kick of his own. Sends the ball to half forward. That's a nice kick and a nice take by Roberts. So Lauderdale, chance here to go forward through McGuinness. Wanted to load up, but just puts it to the top of the square. Wiggins meets it, couldn't track it on the half volley to be gathered here. Falls out to Clever Camp, who snaps around the corner, but just got way too much purchase.
Got some concerns for mine with that matchup, Grace and Wiggins. I just thought Wiggins nearly had him there. Could have nearly got a free kick. It wasn't there, but he just looked like he had him at one point in that contest. So it looks like he's going to have his hands full for me in this match.
It's a good call, Brownie. Causing some issues is Wiggins. Wiley brings it out of defence. Mark taken on the far side.
Pretty quiet too, Palmer Hughes. Just hasn't really worked his way into the game yet.
He just puts it over the top and finds Chambers. It's been so quiet, Brownie. I had to look down at my team sheet and make sure that was Palmer Hughes was playing. Says a fair bit as he goes back for Holmes. Holmes looks out wide. Interesting option. But just finds Fisher. Fisher, one of the new recruits in 2017. A little ball inside, doesn't quite find Gleeson. He's good enough to pick it up off his toes. Then finds Fisher, who gets running. There to Palmer Hughes. Then it's Douglas. Can't quite find Chambers. Swatted away. Lauderdale come out with it with Clever Camber. Big tackle from Fisher. McGuinness, he looks a class above. He picks it up 1-2. He might just get a third bite of the cherry. He doesn't. Roberts inside to Hooker. Over the top he can find Ray Hill all on his own. And he'll go back. Similar place where he kicked his first goal. He'll line up for his second.
That's his third mark inside 50 for this quarter. Clarence certainly running the gauntlet there through the middle of the ground. They're hell-bent on going through the corridor, as is their way. But high risk, high reward sort of footy. And on that occasion, Lauderdale just had the numbers, created the turnover, and an opportunity again for Ray Hill, who's been lively in the second quarter.
He has indeed. Can he add a second goal to his name? It'd be important for the Bombers. He comes on in. He hooks this one wide, but it's there. Wiggins almost takes a grab. He'll pick it up with the one hand. Not a bad pick up at all. Tries to get on the boot. Douglas emerges with it. Passes to a teammate. Long outside 50. Heavey gathers. And we know from this sort of territory it's not beyond Heavey at Blunston Arena. Doesn't opt for the shot. Finds our man Gurgle. He's been a bit quiet. Just puts it in and looks for some runners. It's all Clarence though. McGuinness does his best in a sea of red and white. They come out, but Jones, errant handball, finds Fife over the top. Hooker, he spills it, and it's gathered by Clarence, but a good tackle coming in from Boscott keeps it in the right area for the Bombers.
Just looked a bit fumbly today, Campbell Hooker. We know he's certainly a presence up forward and can take a good mark, but just struggling to work his way into the game today.
So we're 25 metres out from the Lauderdale goal. Strong tackle laid there by McGuinness, who's been very good this afternoon. And the ball will be all wrapped up. There's Lauderdale threatened here.
It's a good point you make about McGuinness. He's been superb, I reckon.
So up it goes again. Siggins won it over his shoulder to Cox, who evaded the tackle, won a handball out, tried to play a little bit of ton of ball, did Jones, but it'll be held up again.
And that's where I think tactically, in a couple of weeks' time, Rowie, you wouldn't allow McGuinness to be doing what he's doing today and setting up behind the footy. Have plenty of time to make some really good decisions off half-back.
Cox with class emerged with it and gave a handball off to Weberley, who couldn't hit Wall. But he has a little one-on-one battle out there with Havea, and Havea will win a free kick because Wall was a little bit enthusiastic with an arm over the shoulder. So Havea just concedes a little bit of ground as a man centre half back who plays on by hand. He's Stanley, former Roo, of course, who kicks across the ground. He wants Heavey. He has to go and takes a nice strong mark.
Good mark.
It was a risky kick to Heavey because Clarence were probably out if he dropped it. He plays on immediately to Anderton, who runs along the wing and puts Lauderdale inside 50. Boscott came from nowhere, swooped on the ball, finds a man in open space, and Lauderdale should kick a certain fourth goal here.
Well, just as I said it, he's responded, well done, Campbell Hooker, found himself a bit of space. Now, this could be a free kick, potentially, off the ball. Is it not? A 50-metre penalty, sorry, so he'll take it from the goal square.
There's a bit of niggle in there, boys. And we know as Hooker pops it through as easy as you like. That's what Lauderdale need. Game on here at Blunston Arena. But yeah, there's a bit of niggle, and we know that Lauderdale have the bye next week, so they just want to make sure they don't cross the line.
Always fireworks in these games. Always to be expected. You would not want to see anybody do anything silly, though, with finals just around the corner. And for Lauderdale, as you say, Gilly, it is their final home and away match of the season. So any penalty would carry over into the first week of finals. Up it goes. We're back in the middle. Jake Cox tries to burst away. It's hacked off the ground by Jones to centre half forward. Clarence with a chance now through Gleeson. In it comes, and that's nicely chopped off almost by Bell Chambers. Tracked out now by Clarence. Fife will come up with the ball. Fires off a handball to Smith. He's got a man going past. The whole string of handballs now nicely done by Roberts. It's turned back over to Clarence as Jones wins it back up. Bit of confusion in between Buchner and Cox. Buchner eventually got a kick forward. Here's Wall. Couldn't quite gather the footy. He's got Bell Chambers to contend with. He was too slow, Wall, but dumped after he had it. And that wasn't great from Bell Chambers because he didn't have the ball.
Wade Wall, he was just a little bit fumbly, and he had Michael Blackburn, who was in space and free for a long time.
He was lucky he didn't gather it because he won a free kick, and that's a wonderful kick to Standen. So Wade Wall spots up Trent Standen after the free kick. And if he had have gathered that footy, he would have been tackled legally and probably pinged. So a little fortuitous. And all's well that ends well for Clarence as Trent Standen lines up. He's shooting for his second, sends it on its way. It's a low ball and didn't really get much of it. Little update from UTAS Stadium. North Launceston really putting the foot on the throat of Burnie. They're 10-12-72. Burnie just the one behind during the second quarter there. Big fly from Siggins at the back. Wonderful hands. He's starting to have an impact on this game too. Simply too tall for Jordan Roberts. Spearing ball inside 50. Wasn't his finest. It'll be gathered by Franklin, who sends it toward a wing. Looking for the player in hooker. He's beaten for leg speed by Grace, who just evades his way out of it and sends a neat ball up the line. Wonderful kick. Finds Jones directly in front of our broadcast position. Kick chopped off by Fife, who's been handy this afternoon. Cox couldn't gather. Fed up to Fife, who couldn't gather cleanly. The ball dribbles out of bounds in front of the broadcast position here on centre wing.
We've seen an extraordinary amount of 25-metre passes tried by opposition teams who have just been blocked off, intercepted, or a little hand in there, which has just made it difficult for teams to get clean ball inside 50.
Ball thrown in by a boundary umpire with a top knot, not sure about it. One down by Smith, looking for Fife. Smith gathers his own peel and runs it over. And into him is Harper, and there's a bit of niggle now. Fife and Chambers, they're not fond of each other. Into his heavy. They might just split this one up before it really erupts. They're into the fence. The ball comes back in from top knot. Smith, fist clear. Bill Chambers will look to gather. Fumbling down the line. He's still got it, Bill Chambers. He shakes off one, finds Wiggins, drops it off to our boy Gurgle. He'll receive it back from Havea. No, he won't. Sells all sorts of candy, Havea. Inside 50. Hooker can't gather. Gurgle might have another crack at it. It's a good tackle from Hooker. The ball's still there for Lauderdale. On hands and knees, Havea tries to get it out and it trickles over the line and in for a throw.
You saw that core strength there from Bill Chambers. It looked like he was going to be pinged for holding the ball or restricted in the tackle, but he's very strong through there and created an opportunity for Lauderdale to get that inside 50.
So in it comes. Walsh will track it, gathers the ball cleanly, but has to contend with the Fisher tackle, and they'll be saved by the bell here. Clarence there, 5-5-35 at half-time. Lauderdale 4-3-27. Gentlemen, we have a game on our hands.
Well, we do, and look, it's a fairly low-scoring game. Having said that, a few more goals kicked in that second quarter, Rowie, and the game opened up a little bit. But certainly both defences are probably on top, and look, it'll be interesting to see how this second half goes. The umpires just trying to separate both two teams as the emotions running a little high, as they often do when teams go off at half-time. So we've got a close one, no doubt about that, 8 points, and really no team you could say with any confidence will go on and win this game because there's not much in it. Clarence obviously the home team and have had some really good moments when they've got it in the hands of players like Stan and Callanan's look dangerous, and Siggins too. He's just so prominent when he can push forward. Very balanced player for such a tall guy, and beautiful kick of the footy, and they have that luxury, don't they, of putting him in the ruck and going forward. So his two goals have probably been the difference at this early stage. But really like the second quarter there, boys, of Ray Hill. He certainly looked dangerous after a slow start. So we're going with a tight one, boys.
We do indeed, and personally I thought Clarence might have skipped away there, but Lauderdale just did enough late on in the quarter to make a real game of it, and it's interesting what we get in the second half. Just skip through the goal kickers just quickly for the leading side, Clarence. Ian Callanan, Trent Standen and Jake Cox with the singles. The two goals coming from Sam Siggins. He's the only multiple goal kicker on the ground for Lauderdale. Thor Boscott, Ryan Wiggins, who was switched forward, Ray Hill and Campbell Hooker all on the board. And the score is 5-5-35, the Clarence Roos, 4-3-27, Lauderdale. We'll have a brief break now and then pop back for what is going to be a scintillating second half here at Blunston Arena.
Clarence Hill, so Speedy Standard, been in good form, sells the hand candy. On he goes, a little kick into the pocket, finds Ian Callanan.
Well, he's smart enough to run around and give this every chance.
He does just that, but it's a little kick into the middle, and it's a good kick. Picks out Blackburn, who will line up for the opening score. In comes Blackburn, kicks it nicely, sneaks it home, and there's the double cobra. They're an errant, and it goes long, looking for Siggins. He's at the races, Sammy Siggins. He'll pick up and stroll towards goal. He's got enough time for a cup of tea, puts it through, and it's another one for Clarence. They're on song here at Lauderdale Oval. It's a kick inside 50. All Lauderdale again. Bell Chambers with a fist down, but it falls to Jones, and on the outside of his right, he just might. He does! 4 on the bounce.
Gets the handball away to Siggins, who's caught up with the footy. And it's been paid holding ball. Advantage paid to Callan, and he goes on the left. It's a good looking kick. It's another goal for the Roos. They're on fire here at Lauderdale Oval.
Hill long down the line. Again, packs everywhere across the field. It's well gathered by Jones. He hands it off for Grace, and it comes to Callanan. No, he hasn't. Yes, he has. Ian Callanan from the pocket. I thought he was going to kick it to the top of the square. Smith with a hit out. We'll have a second look at it. Indeed, Siggins. It's taken out for McGuinness, who started in the middle at the centre bounce. Kick forward by Bryce Walsh. It's met by Fisher. He battles with Tute Havea, who comes out with it and hands it off. It's Roberts on the outside of the boot. And it's a perfect start to the second term for the Lauderdale Bombers. Bounces off his chest. Fisher can't gather. Havea with hands over the top, and it'll be Roberts again, and he'll help himself to a second. 2 in a row for Lauderdale Bombers. Wow. It's a ball straight into the guts of the 50. Bailey out muscles Wiggins. Trickles towards goal though. Heavy sniffing around this one. Hands out the back from Clarence. And they try and spill it over, but they don't do a good enough job. And Havea soccers through, and it's another for the Dale. Walsh, who 1-2s, gets it back. Will give over the top, finds Havea. Inside again, this time it's 5. He'll eye goal. He gets a good piece of it, and it's through the hey-diddle-diddle. Lauderdale are up and about here at the tip.
Bouncing away, in possession with the Roos now. O'Brien sees it over the line, boundary throwing.
Starts his approach, kicks it nicely, it's coming, and it's through! The Bombers are in front here at Lauderdale Oval. You wouldn't read about it.
No one could take the mark. Blackburn was there for the Roos. Oh, beautiful work here from Kyle Palmer-Hughes. He goes inside 50. A rare inside 50 for Clarence this quarter. Wall taps it down. And now Standard off the ground, and Trent Standard gets Clarence's first of the second quarter. A much needed one for the Roos, and they're back in the lead by 3 points. The top to McGuinness, who's been really busy throughout this entire match. He gets the handball off to Heavey, right on the paint of 50. He kicks inside over the head of Wiggins. It dribbles through, and it's touched on the line.
Comes along, 500. Shows some hops for a small fella. Bushner now steals, hands off. He'll get it back from Grace, and he'll have a sniff of goal. He doesn't just sniff it, he finishes off. Well done, Zachy Bushner.
And it's hugging the boundary. But now the Bombers again. It's a goal! What a goal from Lauderdale.
Robbie McManus.
Might have been touched off the boot, it was. They play on quickly, the Roos. And now Palmer-Hughes again. Puts the afterburners on. Goes inside 50. Mark couldn't be taken. Ball still alive. Callanan swings around. Here's the little master right on the boundary. He couldn't, could he? No, he can't. He goes across and Mark taken though. Big clunk by Sammy Siggins. Let's see what he does here. He plays on, goes around the body, and he's kicked it, Sam Siggins. So big goal for Clarence. 19 points it is as Smith and Wall go up in the ruck. Here's Walsh now though, bursting out of the middle here at Lauderdale Oval. He kicks a short one inside 50 and a mark taken by Clevercamp. 19 points is Clarence's lead at the moment. This will cut it right back. It looks okay off the boot. He splits the middle, Max Clevercamp, and gets the goal. And the lead now back to just 13 points.
He's run into the pocket. He tries a little goose step. It doesn't quite come off, but he finds Josh McGuinness on the left. It's a tumbling little punt inside, and it's Roberts, I think. He's taking the mark, and he's off. He's off, Joshy Roberts.
Wow.
Jordan. And he puts it through.
What a goal. 24 minutes gone, and that is a crucial one. The lead now 5 points. Here's Jones right on 50. High ball. Top just bouncing away towards the Roos goals. Grace off the right. He's kicked the goal, Aiden Grace. And the Roos peg one back on the eve of three-quarter time.
Then kicks long to Castle, who's found a bit of space. He's got Grace as a runner. Ignores that. He might take the kick himself. No, he hands off for Grace. Grace will hand off for Palmer Hughes. And he'll put it through the middle. Beautiful counter-attacking football by the Roos. Can't quite find a target. Lauderdale are away now. Fife with hands. It's a long kick. And it's not a bad kick. It bounces through. Lauderdale with a reply here. They've got runners here, Clarence. Dinky little ball inside 50 finds Callanan. He gets on the left, rolls in and kicks the sausage roll. Oh, class is permanent. There we go, Ian Callanan. What a goal. And Clarence extend that lead again. Purveyor with a handball over the top for Hebe. Back inside to Ma, who finds a bit of space. He might just have a look. It's a good kick from young Ma, and it's a goal. Beautiful finish from the youngster. Just found himself in a pocket of space and used it nicely. He dealt with Anderton too forcefully, says there it is. The free kick with a siren sounds, and it sounds on a big win for the Clarence Roos. 91 defeats 66 here at Lauderdale Oval. Alex Hill, so speedy standard, been in good form, sells the hand candy, on he goes, a little kick into the pocket, finds Ian Callanan.
But he's smart enough to run around and give this every chance.
He does just that, but it's a little kick into the middle, and it's a good kick. Picks out Blackburn, who will line up for the opening scorer. In comes Blackburn, kicks it nicely, sneaks it home, and there's the double cobra. They're an errant. And it goes long, looking for Siggins. He's at the races, Sammy Siggins. He'll pick up and stroll towards goal. He's got enough time for a cup of tea. Puts it through, and it's another one for Clarence. They're on song here at Lauderdale Oval. It's a kick inside 50. All Lauderdale again. Bill Chambers with a fist down, but it falls to Jones, and on the outside of his right, he just might. He does. 4 on the bounce.
Gets the handball away to Siggins, who's caught up with the footy. And it's been paid holding ball. Advantage paid to Callan. He goes on the left. It's a good looking kick. It's another goal to the Roos. They're on fire here at Lauderdale Oval.
Hill long down the line. Again, packs everywhere across the field. It's well gathered by Jones. He hands it off for Grace, and it comes to Callanan. No, he hasn't. Yes, he has. Ian Callanan from the pocket. I thought he was going to kick it to the top of the square. Smith with a hit out. We'll have a second look at it. Indeed, Siggins. It's taken out from McGuinness, who started in the middle at the centre bounce. Kick forward by Bryce Walsh. It's met by Fisher. He battles with Tute Havea, who comes out with it and hands it off. It's Roberts on the outside of the boot. And it's a perfect start to the second term for the Lauderdale Bombers. Bounces off his chest. Fisher can't gather. Havea with hands over the top, and it'll be Roberts again, and he'll help himself to a second. 2 in a row for Lauderdale Bombers. Wow. It's a ball straight into the guts of the 50. Bailey out muscles Wiggins. Trickles towards goal though. Heavy sniffing around this one. Hands out the back from Clarence. And they try and spill it over, but they don't do a good enough job. And Havea soccers through, and it's another for the Dale. Walsh, 1-2s, gets it back. Will give over the top, finds Havea. Inside again, this time it's 5. He'll eye goal. He gets a good piece of it, and it's through the hey-diddle-diddle. Lauderdale are up and about here at the tip.
Bouncing away. in possession with the Roos now. O'Brien sees it over the line boundary, throwing.
Starts his approach, kicks it nicely, it's coming and it's through! The Bombers are in front here at Lauderdale Oval. You wouldn't read about it.
No one could take the mark. Blackburn was there for the Roos. Oh, beautiful work here from Kyle Palmer-Hughes. He goes inside 50. A rare inside 50 for Clarence this quarter. Wall taps it down. And now Standen off the ground, and Trent Standen gets Clarence's first of the second quarter. A much needed one for the Roos, and they're back in the lead by 3 points. The top to McGuinness, who's been really busy throughout this entire match. Gets the handball off to Heavey, right on the paint of 50. He kicks inside over the head of Wiggins. It dribbles through, and it's touched on the line.
Comes along 500. Shows some hops for the small fella. Bushner now steals, hands off. He'll get it back from Grace and he'll have a sniff of goal. He doesn't just sniff it, he finishes off. Well done, Zachy Bushner.
And it's hugging the boundary. But now the Bombers again. It's a goal! What a goal from Lauderdale.
Robbie McManus.
Might have been touched off the boot, it was. They play on quickly, the Roos. And now Palmer-Hughes again. Puts the afterburners on. Goes inside 50. Mark couldn't be taken. Ball still alive. Callanan swings around. Here's the little master right on the boundary. He couldn't, could he? No, he can't. He goes across and Mark taken though. Big clunk by Sammy Siggins. Let's see what he does here. He plays on, goes around the body, and he's kicked it, Sam Siggins. So big goal for Clarence. 19 points it is as Smith and Wall go up in the ruck. Here's Walsh now though, bursting out of the middle here at Lauderdale Oval. He kicks a short one inside 50 and a mark taken by Clevercamp. 19 points is Clarence's lead at the moment. This will cut it right back. It looks okay off the boot. He splits the middle, Max Clevercamp, and gets the goal. And the lead now back to just 13 points.
He's run into the pocket. He tries a little goose step. It doesn't quite come off, but he finds Josh McGuinness on the left. It's a tumbling little punt inside, and it's Roberts, I think. He's taken the mark, and he's off. He's off, Joshy Roberts.
Wow.
Good. And he puts it through.
What a goal. 24 minutes gone, and that is a crucial one. The lead now, 5 points. Here's Jones right on 50. High ball. Top just bouncing away towards the Roos goals. Grace off the right. He's kicked the goal, Aidan Grace. And the Roos peg one back on the eve of three-quarter time.
Then kicks long to Castle, who's found a bit of space. He's got Grace as a runner. Ignores that. He might take the kick himself. No, he hands off for Grace. Grace will hand off for Palmer-Hughes. And he'll put it through the middle. Beautiful counter-attacking football by the Roos. Can't quite find a target. Lauderdale are away now. Fife with hands. It's a long kick. And it's not a bad kick.
Are on top, but not by much. 5-5-35 they lead. They're bitter rivals, the Lauderdale Bombers, 4-3-27. You've got a few more scores for us, Rowie.
Yeah, we'll have a quick look around the grounds before we get back into this game. And Glenorchy getting a real run for their money down at the Twin Ovals. They're 5-6-36. Tigers 5-5-35. It's either, it must be half time still down there. And North Launceston having no such troubles. 10-12-72. They played Burnie. One behind, so a rout happening at UTAS Stadium, but Glenorchy getting a real run for their money down at the Twin Ovals.
Good for the Tigers, though, isn't it? Because they've been flat now for quite some time, so they needed a positive performance, and it looks like they're getting that at the Twin Ovals. But I just saw you diving for the record books there, Damian Gill, with that score from Bernie. So you would hate to look at that score in about an hour's time, Rowan, and find it still looking like some sort of a soccer score for them. Let's hope they can get on the board. Then they will, you would think.
Cricket score even, I reckon.
Yeah, for the other, yes.
well, for North Launceston and a soccer score for
yeah, that's
Bernie.
what I meant.
That's the mix. Lauderdale make their way back out onto Blunston Arena, and what do we expect from the second half, boys? Not much in it at all. It's been a scrap for the most part, but we saw some life in the second term.
We've just seen a lot of turnovers, particularly in the centre square, where both teams have tried to run the ball through handball, and that's because both teams have pressed up pretty high, just trying to get those inside inside 50 entries when it's in their forward line. So that's made it really difficult when you're trying to transition the ball out of there from a defensive point of view. So they'll be trying to look for some clean balls, and that's why, if you can get some advantages even from centre bounces and clearances, it just makes it a little bit easier for the forward lines, because both teams have been able to drop numbers back defensively and control a fair bit of that. But certainly I would think, some of the key messages from both teams would be about that ball movement, which has been pretty hard to get any consistency and fluid play in that one, Rowie.
Almost a case of who dares wins, and I think both teams maybe have been told that by their coaches. They've tried to get those handballs moving. They've tried to hit those little inboard 25-metre kicks to split things open. And once they work, then they're away. But it's just a matter of hitting those targets and making sure they don't turn the ball over. So once they do get the ball and go with it, and we've seen Thor Boscott try and do it a couple of times, but just not quite pull it off. I think that's what they're trying to do, is get each other on the hop and kick those quick goals.
I'm just watching Lauderdale make their way up to their coach's box, and there's a few very handy types that are walking alongside Darren Winter. Reece Sutton, who was laid out, Ben McGuinness, and also Robbie McManus, all to come back in that side for the first final. So they'll be stronger than they are today.
Yeah, and they'll be better, no doubt about that. And Robbie McManus was having a really good season until he was injured. And, certainly I would have thought at the halfway point he would be featuring pretty high in Lauderdale's best and fairest, as we see both teams get into a huddle here. So, look, it'd be really important, I guess, from a Clarence perspective to try and get some inside 50s. We know they love that slingshot footy where they can run it through the middle of the ground, and then you've got the speed of Bushner, Standen, Callanan's another one, and they can run on an open ball, and Cox as well. So that's certainly what they'll be looking to, if they can get some of those forward inside 50 entries. And look, it's a handy break, isn't it? 8 points, but certainly not insurmountable from a Lauderdale perspective. But just the loss of Bailey Rowe, that's potentially going to test the Roos, I think.
Big time, because we saw Aiden Grace take a key post down back. It was matched up on Ryan Wiggins for a while there, and Wiggins got the better of him in probably a 10-minute patch, which didn't bode well for Clarence's chances. Thor Boscott's the other one, obviously, who has been running amok up forward and has done a little bit of damage so far this game. He's played a little... you mentioned that press. He's pressed up high. But the Bailey matchup throws things into a bit of disarray, and no Mastrocola as well, as we've already spoken about earlier on. That doesn't help things either.
So, not far away from a resumption here at Blunston Arena. Low-scoring affair. We'll be back in the middle, and it'll be Smith and Siggins. Boscott in the middle. McGuinness also in the middle. He's had a good game so far, Brownie.
Yeah, he has, and I've mentioned his composure and great surety with the ball in hand. And certainly you would think his ball efficiency would be up high today. Just never looks flustered with the footy, and obviously benefited, as is Sam Siggins, being in that AFL environment. They've certainly come back better players. But once again, we see Franklin starting out of the square for Lauderdale.
Spoke of Boscott. He's moved into the middle as the ball goes up for the start of this second half. Siggins won it down and then tried to scrap a ball forward. It's a high one to centre half forward as Franklin tracks it back. It's met solidly by Blackburn, who just threw away a handball. Cox tried to get it, and in fact did. He sold a little bit of candy, and now he has Ling over the top handball. Now Clarence chance to kick the first goal of the second half through Harper.
Jeez, that's a disappointing miss. You just go in with some great momentum to start at the start of the third quarter if he kicks that goal. Had a player free too in Blackburn, but he was quite entitled to have the shot. Just should have been able to finish from there.
Should have nailed it, that's for sure. He'll be ruining that one in a low-scoring encounter as the ball moves its way out onto the outer side. Siggins couldn't take the mark. It's probably taken without it. It'll find its way back into the Clarence forward 50, and Gabby Chambers has found space. Takes the mark, and he'll kick from 45 metres out. Slight angle. There's a man in the pocket with his arms raised. Chambers says, no thanks, I'm going to go back and drill this. So it'd be a hot start for Clarence if Chambers could just go back and put this one through the eye. Diddle. It looks so right off the boot. In fact, it's just squeezed on the inside of the post. The umpire gives the signal. Clarence have the first goal of the second half.
Yeah, good start for them, and obviously gets it out to, what's that, a 15-point lead, is it, boys? The scoreboard hasn't ticked over, I don't think, as we speak. Yeah, it is a 15-point goal. He just got ahead of his man there, just found some space there, Chambers, and I think it might have been Raymond Hill that he's matched up on at the moment. Hill's pushed up to a wing, and a good conversion there. Good start for the Roos.
So back in the middle again. Bounce down into the turf, straight to Smith, and I think we'll have another crack at things. Might be thrown up. So Cox, McGuinness, Boscott, O'Brien, some big names in the middle of the ground. A lot of superstars between these two teams. Up it goes. Smith in best position, taps down, can't quite find McGuinness. McGuinness does well with pressure on Cox. Handed out looking for Boscott. The bounce lets him down. O'Brien shovels in, tries to win the footy. It's handed out to Ling on the outside of his boot. He'll find a running Holmes. Holmes over the top, the Jones. It's a shocker of a handball. It's tracked down by Franklin. He finds Fife, then to Bill Chambers, then Walsh. Then to Fife, the pocket rocket puts it inside 50 over the head of Wiggins. Well done by Fisher, but it falls out. Clever Cam hands off. Bill Chambers gets it on the boot. Wiley, unfashionable, but out of defence. Bouncing away, it's gathered by Williams. A nudgy little ball inside finds Walsh. Walsh looks inside.
Gee, you're right about the turnover from Holmes. Just a horrible handball. Normally he's pretty composed with footy in his hand and has been one of the real finds for Clarence this season, but not his best moment before.
I think he wanted Jones going past, but Jones sort of turned his back and tried to get it on the way past, but couldn't quite.
So Walsh tries his luck, hard up against the boundary. It's through for a minor score.
Certainly, boys, we haven't seen any resemblance of a hard tag in this game from either player. So good coaching, as we said as Callan drops a mark.
Ball bounced off the chest of Callan, had Fife for company. It'll come to Lauderdale now, who feeds it out to Stanley. He goes inside 50, missed the target in Boscott. It'll fall now to Roberts, who thought about a shot on goal. Eventually just dropped the ball as he was mobbed by 2 or 3 Clarence players. Spills out, ball still alive. O'Brien's in there, tries to shovel it out, comes out to Bill Chambers, back to Walsh, back to Stanley, who handballs back into the congestion. Roberts over the shoulder, and that'll fall into the lap of Boscott.
Fair bit of luck involved there, Rowie.
The ball just bobbled around for Lauderdale, and it ended up in the arms of Thor Boscott.
He's pretty quiet last week and played the majority of the game inside 50. Had 3 or 4 shots on goal, and potentially could have kicked more goals. I think he might have been goalless last week, Gilly, from memory.
So you'd back Boscott to kick this. It's from point-blank range almost. Stabs at the ball and cannons it into the post. Goal kicking has been poor today, it's fair to say.
It's brought back into play from Cox to Chambers, and yeah, you're right, Rowie. That one puzzles me. You put Boscott down for that. 10 out of 10, I would have thought, as it's played from Chambers into the pocket for the fearless leader, Webberley. Out of defence he goes. It's a long, high ball. Looking for Blackburn. He's out position, out manoeuvred. It's Fisher who jumps onto the ball, tries to get through. A couple of Lauderdale players can't. It'll be ball up again. A lot of stoppage work today on the far wing here at Blunston Arena. Ball back into play. Smith palms down. to the opposition, and it's Cox. He can't get through traffic. It's kept alive and thrown on the boot. In it goes, looking for Heavey. He's been quiet, just kicked clear of congestion. Comes to Wiggins. He does the old double-handed slap down. He retrieves his own pill. It's an ugly-looking kick, not the best at all from Adams, but it's not dealt with by Clarence. Picked up by Boscott inside. He finds his skipper in Walsh. He's smothered by a couple of Clarence players. Castle on the boot. A bouncing ball outside 50. Douglas takes it for the Roos. Puts it out in front of Jones. 100 games today. Franklin picks it up. Wish Wilson. Hands out for Scott Hill. Hugging the boundary. Long down the line. Incoming late is Boscott. He can't gather. Chambers emerges with it. On his laces, it's Callanan who takes it. Finds Cox onto the outer wing. He just looks for a bit of room. Goes back to the coach in Webberley. He's in a spot of bother, but has Wiley to help out. Across to the right, he finds Holmes. Holmes off for Douglas. Douglas down the line to Siggins. Now he's got a couple of metres without pressure. What can he do, Sammy Siggins? Hands inside. It's a shocker, but Bushner makes it look okay. A ball inside 50. It can't be caught there by Blackburn. Over the back, it's our man Gurgle who tries to gather, but he runs out of tarmac.
It's a pretty good play from the Roos. We saw Jake Cox just retreat there on the wing, and that's because he had no one running forward to kick to. So they just had to be patient and come around the commentary side here.
It's nice and composed work from Clarence. It's one down. McGuinness, though, for Lauderdale will come away with it. He finds a man out wide for his team. They're away now on the wing through Fife. Lauderdale, he's got a man in Heavey, and they've got Wiggins streaming forward inside 50. Only needs to hit the kick. Wiggins gets it and goes. Pings towards goal. It's a bouncing ball. It wasn't his finest, and it'll roll over.
He may be needed there just to actually take the mark and wait for someone to run inside 50, because he only had the one player. Had it been a more nimble player, might have backed himself to run on with it.
Rush of blood to the head there from Wiggins, perhaps, as Clarence bring it back in. Short ball wasn't great, looking for Harper, and Franklin gets across, forces another boundary throw in.
That's what we're talking about tactically before the game. Normally Franklin inside clearance player, and he's done some terrific work in some of the games that we've called this year, boys, but an unfamiliar role for him today. But you'd think in 2 weeks' time he'll be back in where he does his most prominent work.
Bill Chambers read it off hands, was slung in the tackle, but got a handball off. Stanley's in there, as is Harper. He carries it over the boundary line, though, and we'll have another boundary throw-in in the exact same spot.
It's been a funny old day weather-wise. Sun beaming down now, not as much of a breeze. And it's been a funny old game of football too, as the ball's thrown in. Havea and Siggins. Havea wins down, but it falls for Clarence. Ling, in congestion, tries to farm it out. Finds Bryce Walsh to the opposition, but Jones cuts it off. Finds Webberley, who weaves out of there. Comes to Bushner, just punches along. Finds Harper. He cops one high. And that'll just cool the jets for Clarence. They'll try and work their way out of their defensive half. Hasn't been easy at times today. Just a pokey little kick down the line, finds Bushner. He cops some late from Walsh. He's off though, Bushner, an explosive athlete. Long, looking there for Blackburn. It was a tremendous mark taken by young Mitch Anderton. Player of real promise. Hands it off for Havea. Just treads water. Finds Franklin in space. In defensive 50. Turns. Nice kick from Franklin. I might just open things up for Lauderdale. Over the top. An ugly old kick, but it works out okay. Bill Chambers, always eager to get moving. Finds Heavey, rather. So pushing towards their forward line here, Lauderdale. Alex Heavey, he can unleash a long bomb. He just puts this one up, hoping for Roberts to produce some magic. Can't, as won by Grace. Tries to hand it out for a teammate. He can't find it. A pack forms and it'll be ball up just inside the arc for Lauderdale.
So it's all locked in. Mini arm wrestle happening here. Goal would just break things open as Bell Chambers contested the ruck. It went down straight to McGuinness, who forced a handball out. Heavey was in there, as was Walsh, who claimed I think it was Webley in the tackle. And another ball up here as players converge.
Dylan Fife's another player that we've seen spend a lot of time inside the midfield and in centre bounce situations, but he's spent a bit of time outside of there today as well.
Scrappy kick from Clarence is taken by Cox. He just stops and props and sees something he likes up on a wing. It's Harper who takes the ball just inside the line. Harper's been in the thick of it today. And a couple of chances on goal. Able to convert. Little ball inside is good to Webley.
Just quickly, boys, the Pies just in front, 3 points ahead in the third, 13 gone. Hugh Dixon's kicked 5.
Big day for Hugh Dixon, who's right in the draft mix, so not doing his stocks any disservice as Clarence still have the footy out here on the outer side. Callanan, the kick was smothered, and it'll trickle out once again for a boundary throw-in.
It's a bit flat here right now, Brownie. Not a lot going on. That energy and intensity in the second term's disappeared.
Both teams playing like they've got an eye on the finals in many respects, or know that they are going to come up against each other, which we know will happen in a few weeks' time. And you can understand that certainly from a coach's perspective, that you wouldn't want to give too much away. You more want to go back and take a look at the vision of this game and see which different plays you may need to nullify. But certainly you don't want to give up too much today.
McGuinness from traffic finds Walsh, and they're away now. Lauderdale Heavey to Bell Chambers. Runs out of trouble, almost runs himself into trouble. A kick into the pocket. Fisted away, timely from Douglas, and out for another throw-in. So 6:42 plays 4:6:30. This game, well and truly, still up for grabs. It's a tight one. It's an arm wrestle. Thrown in, deep in attack for Lauderdale. Havea and Wall. Havea has it to himself, just paddles it away and back out for another throw.
Gee, we've seen some throw-ins today, boys. It's been a game of stoppages. It's fair to say, as we see another one, and I just feel it's the calm before the storm here. As the rucks go at it, no clear winner in the tap. McGuinness comes up with the ball, handball out. Lauderdale maintain possession. Now it goes inside 50. In fact, it almost went over the line, and
it's big Alex Hill.
Alex Hill almost got the journey with a little bit of wind at his back. Wasn't to be, though. Clarence resumed things. Out it goes. Siggins takes the mark. Wheels around onto his right boot. Sends the ball out in the Cox direction, who takes it on his chest. Had Gurgle to contend with, but did so easily. The kick wasn't great to Callanan. It's now gathered here in defence by Lauderdale, and the man running past slipped over in Franklin, and it meant that they had no option to get out.
Handy there when you got former AFL players on your list, and Cox is another one who certainly would have been mentioned in dispatches going a few years ago, but certainly Webley, Wiggins and Callanan, Siggins and Callanan all prominent in that ball movement from the Roos.
Cox came bursting through, but the big tackle was late as Lauderdale rebound now off half-back. McGuinness combines with Fife. He got a handball over to Bell Chambers, who's running through the middle of Blunston Arena. Sends the ball inside in the hooker direction. Couldn't quite run under it. He's still there, though. Lauderdale will get it through Wiggins. Rides the tackle, handball out, but it's cleanly holding the ball. Maybe not. Umpire said play on. If that wasn't holding the ball, that was high.
Just keep your eye on this one, boys. At the moment, Clarence prepared to have Michael Fisher on Ryan Wiggins, which is a big ask. He's got him for height, but at the moment hasn't been exposed.
So Fisher out of defence, that man that Cam was talking about, finds Chambers by foot. Out they go. This Ling drops it off. A long ball coming by Chambers. Wrestling is Callanan. Can't take the clunk. Anderton tries to get it out of there. He's met with a crunching tackle from Sammy Siggins, and it'll be a ball up.
What's interesting here, Rowie, halfway through this quarter, and really difficult for both sides. So we're looking like we're going to have another low-scoring quarter, but if Roos can kick one here, they'll be out to a game-high lead.
Yeah, no real signs of this game getting split open scoring-wise. The kick around the corner is claimed by Palmer Hughes. In fact, the umpire didn't pay the mark. It won't matter for Clarence, who have a man inside 50.
Great kick.
And it's Blackburn who takes the mark. Kick from a tightish angle, but he's keen to take it. No real distance to speak of, though. Only kick from 25 metres out. This for a very handy little buffer for Clarence. So Blackburn to extend the margin by 17. Comes in, and the wind just did some funny stuff there. It was a floaty old ball, and it just didn't really make the distance.
That was just strange all over. I
I
thought the approach was weird. I thought the kick was weird. And the way it went through was definitely weird as it comes long out of defence. Off the boot of Stanley. Bryce Walsh takes it at the back of the pack. He rides a tackle, but he can't quite escape. It'll be a ball up. Far wing here at Blunston Arena. 16 minutes gone in the third quarter. Not too much in the way of scoring action in this term.
Just the one goal, was it, boys, for this quarter?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, Brownie. Maybe not even a goal. What are we? Yeah, no, just the one goal for Clarence. As it's kicked inside 50, Callanan under it, and he almost takes the mark. Mitch Anderton escapes. Long kick down the line's a good one. And it's marked. It's marked well by Adams. Not a lot offering on. He goes short for Stanley. There's a lot of numbers down the line on the far wing. Got to try and cut their way through it here, Lauderdale. Stanley with the ball. He opts to go long. Havea probably best chance. Can't take the grab. It's pushed out by Fisher. That's probably a win for Lauderdale.
Fisher, as you mentioned, Brown, he has gone deep into defence. Just come up there to affect the contest and did so well. Smith brings it down over the bat. Walsh was there, couldn't gather the footy. Bodies everywhere as Lauderdale just hack it forward. Jones tracks it to the boundary. It's going to be picked up by Heavey. No, it won't. It's going to roll out. Heavey claims it was on the full, but of course it wasn't. We'll have another boundary throw in on the outer side. Just a bit of a lull here. As North Launceston skip out to a 113-point lead in their game against Burnie. Burnie with just the one behind so far in the third quarter.
Cox Goodyear with 5. Goodyear.
Gee, I'm looking forward to the finals, boys. It's shaping up as a ripper. It's still got a few games to play out before then, but some real live chances for the premiership this year.
Roberts took it out of the ruck, but was claimed in a big Douglas tackle. Gleeson was there as well.
Brownie, how have you seen the return of Webley today?
I just think he's been serviceable. Certainly had some moments, particularly in the second quarter. Come back to that one, Gilly.
Smith whacks it on the boot looking for hooker, and it's just seen out by Grace.
He's be one of those people that you'd think they'd want to get almost 90% of game time into today just to get some miles on the legs. But hopefully he can work his way into the game. He's had some really nice moments, particularly the pass to Siggins I thought was really good in the second quarter. Just showed a real lot of class and poise.
Thrown in, Smith down. It's all red and white though, but they can't quite get it out through Chambers. Good tackling pressure from Lauderdale. It's holding the footy. Yeah. And a bit of afters. Fireworks here. You always expect it when you come to see Clarence and Lauderdale. I think that one dispersed quickly with an eye to September. But it was a good tackle on Jones.
An opportunity here for Campbell Hooker. He hasn't had a lot of the footy, but as a robust deep forward, if he can, in a low-scoring game, can convert here, he'll be his team's leading goal kicker. So a real opportunity for him.
Campbell Hooker wanders on in, gets decent purchase and sneaks it home. So it's another for Campbell Hooker. And Lauderdale hit back, just a goal in it here at Blunston Arena.
Yeah, it's a good point you make there, Brownie, about Campbell hooker being the Lauderdale's only multiple goal scorer. Wiggins quiet and Boscott quiet as well. He's been very dangerous around goal this year, as we know. They've only got one apiece, and Raymond Hill has their other one. So hooker, the only multiple goal scorer for Lauderdale. So job well done so far by the Clarence defensive unit. Up she goes in the middle as Clarence attempt to win it out. It's a nice tackle there by Fife. He gives it to Smith. He gives it back to Fife. Thought about the handball inside, and here come Lauderdale. Target is hit at centre half forward. Handball is given off to Heavey, who was tackled beautifully by Buchner.
He's got explosive speed, Buchner. We've said a few times that under 18 level he was the quickest on the list, and we saw it on that occasion.
Heavey's eyes lit up as he ran inside 50. He was going to have a ping at goal, but Buchner had other ideas as Clarence now tried to work it forward. The kick off the ground was given to Webley, who just used his strength to shrug off an opponent, sends them inside 50, follow the ball. Here's Clarence moving forward, handball over the top. Wade Wall has to pick it up. Doesn't, does. He's tackled by Bill Chambers, and everything stopped because he was claimed holding the ball. So a couple of big goal-saving tackles, one from either side, and this time it was Bill Chambers who just claimed Wall. Goes out wide. Here's Gurgle, who backs himself, and he's gone too.
No.
The youngster Gurgle, he bit off more than he could chew there, and he's gone down the gurgler.
Well, both Lauderdale players. It was Heavey before, and then the young boy Gurgle there on that occasion. They picked two of the quickest players, didn't they? Over 15 metres in Buchner and Cox there.
You don't want to take on Jake Cox in a foot race at the best of times, especially when it's your first game and you're running out of defence, because he will catch you, and 99 times out of 100 he will go back and slot the goal. And on this occasion he has done exactly that. He raises the arm and points to the crowd. Clarence hit back. The pressure has gone up a dial in this one, and Jake Cox splits the middle.
Yeah, classy player, isn't he? And that's a game that is probably a little bit underrated. Probably something he didn't do early on in his career, that and that's that sort of tackling defensive pressure. But with his speed, he's become a really great tackler, and added that to his game. And as we see, they've pushed him forward now, and he becomes a really difficult matchup because he can get up and take a mark overhead. So interesting to see here if Clarence can get another one with a smaller looking forward line.
Purveyor out of the middle, a bouncing ball towards Boscott. He's first to it, but it spills clear to O'Brien. Emerging from the congestion is Roberts, but he's run into trouble and he's tackled beautifully. A beautiful tackle from Gleeson, coming in and claims Roberts, and he'll take his free kick. Some good tackling pressure in the last few minutes. Ball out onto the wing, Jackson O'Brien. He'd rather forget that. Fumbles over for a throw. 2-goal buffer here to the Clarence Rouge. 7-7-49, plays 5-7-37. He's still up for grabs, but has been a low-scoring affair. 23 minutes deep into this third term. Siggins and Havea contest the rucks. Havea wins it down, tried to get it into the Walsh direction, but he couldn't gather the footy, and then will spill out of bounds. In fact, it come off the foot of Walsh, and it'll be a Clarence free kick. So they move the ball towards half forward to a one-on-one. Anderton might have gone into his opponent's back. Umpire said no. And they'll throw it in again on the outer side, right in front of the hill. Here at Blunston Arena. This game's just gone up a notch with 3 or 4 really big tackles. It's Jordan Roberts on the end of that latest one. Let's go at it, win it down. Clevercamp tries to keep it in, but doesn't. He's hassled over the line by Gleeson. A lot of stoppage work today, Rowie.
Yeah, Havea and Siggins have certainly earned their matchies today, that's for sure. They've done a lot of the ruck work. And they go at it again here. Siggins over the back, wins it down. Clevercamp's on hands and knees, shovels out a handball. It'll fall to Siggins, who's agile for a big fella and shows it on that occasion too. Got it back from O'Brien. Kick wasn't the greatest as it went around the corner. Clevercamp gets back and takes the mark over Gleeson.
So Clevercamp short, finds Walsh, hits up the skipper.
25-minute mark here, boys, and not a lot of time left in this quarter. Gee, a goal either side here would be very important going into three-quarter time.
Very good point, Cam Brown. Lauderdale with the ball. Havea just tries to get through a pack, and he does. Heavey now inside, looking for an option. Swallowed away from Grace. It tips out the back. Wiggins hands it off to Boscott, who's got one on him. And it runs out of play, and it'll be a throw. Deep in attack for Lauderdale. Can they peg the margin back to just one straight kick?
A little spot fire here. I think Wiggins is right in the thick of it.
They throw it in. Havea down. Trying to farm it out. A tackle straight away. Going nowhere under that was, I think, Hooker. And that's the three-quarter time siren here. 7-7-49. The Clarence Roos 5-7-37. Just two straight kicks in it. It was a low-scoring quarter, which continues the trend of the day. What do we make of it, Cam Brown and Chris Rowbottom?
Well, I just think it's a really handy lead in a low-scoring game for the Roos. I think they look, if we're asking for a tip, maybe the home team can hang on here as Clarence, some of the players there running to their huddle. They'll be excited. They know they've beaten Lauderdale and 2 times this season and one on this deck. So, look, it'll be a terrific come-from-behind win from Lauderdale. But there's just been a bit of flatness about it, hasn't there, Rowie, today? Both teams not maybe psychologically going full throttle and knowing that they're going to be coming up against the same opposition in a few weeks' time. So just their foot off a little bit in terms of some of their intensity. So it's just probably going to come down to some of the class players that might decide this game. And we've seen Siggins with a couple of moments of brilliance. Jakes Cox with a really good run-down tackle. I thought Clarence held up really well in the last 5 or 10 minutes there with some of the defensive pressure.
The move to put Tim Castle on Thor Boscott has proven a pretty good one. I think he was really lively early, Boscott, but Castle seems to have shut him down so far in this second half. I think Lauderdale need a match winner to stand up. Boscott is normally
Correct.
that guy, that X factor, but they need to identify a real match winner who's going to stand up and take this game by the scruff of the neck and win it for his team, because they've had 4 or 5 solid contributors, but no one who's really threatened to bust the game open.
No, it's been like that for most of the game. It's going to be difficult for Gilly to do the votes at the end of this one as well, because as you know, Rowie, we rotated around and it's round to Gilly's turn. So look, I don't envy that, and look, I hope I get it right, but certainly it'll be really interesting as we look forward to a really big last quarter coming up, boys.
Goal kickers quickly. The Clarence Roos, the singles, Callanan, Chambers, Standen, and 2 apiece for Cox and Siggins. The only goals in that quarter were from Chambers and Cox. For the Bombers, Boscott, Wiggins, Rayhill all have 1 apiece, while Campbell Hooker has 2, and he kicked the Bombers only of that term.
Good news from UTAS Stadium, boys. Burnie are on the board. They've kicked their first goal. They're 1-3-9. They've got a few more to go, though, because North Launceston are 17-18, 120. Twin Ovals, Glenorchy have edged in front. It's still pretty tight, though. They're 8-5-53, playing Tigers 7-6-48. They'd be at three-quarter time too in that game.
Boys, we sort of teased at it a little bit just before, but I'm interested in your thoughts. Who's going to be the game breaker in this last quarter? Who is going to find something special to get their team over the line?
Well, I like Rowie's call of Boscott. I think he's certainly got some upside in this game, and particularly, if he can have 5 or 10 minutes, push deep into that forward line, can kick multiple goals, and he's a confidence player. He's a burst player, explosive, and certainly energises his team. So I think Lauderdale, from their perspective, would be looking at him. Perhaps Jake Cox for the Roos. He's a line breaker. He can cut him up if he's inside the middle of the ground, and we also know he's just so very dangerous when he's deep forward too. So, Clarence do have those sorts of players. Callanan's another one who's been pretty well held today, but only needs a bit of space and some pockets to work in to do some damage there. So, look, they're probably some of the key players as we move into what'll be a pretty important last quarter for both sides.
Yeah, I can see that competitive streak coming out in Bryce Walsh in this last term. I think he might just fleek things up a notch in this final quarter and just say, come with me, boys. I'm going to put you on the back and carry you to a win, because I think he's a beast of an inside midfielder, and when he gets up and going, he really does lift his team. I think he can be a match winner for Lauderdale in the final stanza. And for Clarence, I like a call of Jake Cox. He's been silky all day. He's kicked a couple of goals, and he could easily kick another 2 or 3 in a quarter. That's the sort of X-factor player he is. So, expect him to maybe get off the chain in the last quarter if Clarence are going to win.
Gilly, we did mention the votes, which you were doing at the end of the game, but Brent Costello, that was amazing, wasn't it? Going back a couple of weeks ago when just didn't give 2 votes.
Yeah, he reimagined the concept. For years and years, people in Australian rules football have run with the 3-2-1 formula, and Costello,
just
forever
odd
the
numbers.
Innovator,
Just odd numbers.
just went for the 3-1. And no surprise, it was Sam Siggins with 3, by the way.
Bit of love there, isn't there?
There's a lot of love for Sammy Siggins from Brent Costello, who I reckon might be tuning in from the Gold Coast. We don't know. He'd probably sunside beside the pool, just on a deck chair with the iPhone out, tuning in.
Yeah, it was strange. Look, if you're not good enough to be second best on the ground, he's not going to give it to you. He will just lower the standard and just give you the 1.
The big cause. I know he's off to Gold Coast Essendon tonight at Metricon Stadium. So this will be the best game of footy he's seen all day if he's if he's watching, I reckon.
Yeah, the bar is low.
It's extraordinary, wasn't it, looking back? I've never seen it.
3-1.
I look at footy differently now, though. Since you've done that, I just think maybe just 2 players.
Yeah, my eyes are certainly open now. I was operating on a different plane before.
Now the most controversial, like the opting for 2 players, I understand that, but the fact that he's gone 3-1 is just it's visionary stuff. I reckon it's out there thinking. It's the sort of out the box thinking that Brent Costello brings to this broadcast. And I'm looking forward to having him back on the stream next week to see what else he'll dish up.
Just seemed to cave under a bit of pressure at the time, though, didn't he? I think he might have wanted to raffle it, and in the end, couldn't go with anything. Didn't want to elevate his 1 vote to 2. That was, as we said, that it was puzzling.
Yeah, puzzling, the right word for it. So as the supporters scatter off the ground, we get ready for the last quarter here at Blunston Arena. It's been an arm wrestle all day. Very few goals. Only the 12 so far. So it'll be interesting whether either team can just shake off the shackles and maybe put a few away in this last term. But it has been an arm wrestle.
Bryce Gibbs has pushed forward for
Bryce Gibbs,
Lauderdale. Bryce Gibbs. Bryce Walsh. Just when I was getting into Breno, I've given him a little bit of ammunition. But no, Bryce Walsh has pushed forward. And a strange-looking setup as we look down the right of screen, the way they're set up. Lauderdale here, but Thor Boscott's gone in the middle of the ground, so too Jake Cox from a Clarence perspective. So, again, we've mentioned it a few times, but a lot of players that normally we see inside the middle of the ground are actually starting outside the square.
So they've got Smith, Rucking and Havia in the middle of the ground too, playing as the on-baller. So
their midfield setup is interesting in itself. You've got Boscott in there, Clever Camp, who doesn't spend a lot of time in there. Then you've got this sort of clustered approach down the forward 50.
Don't mind it, the old huddle.
I wonder if Clint Brown, I reckon it's Clint's cluster, that one. I won't try and deliver that again.
Yeah.
Careful. Yes.
But interesting, just throwing the magnets around a little bit here, Darren Winter.
Yeah, don't mind it as we get this final term underway. Who will win this one? We'll find out in about half an hour's time as Lauderdale look to get the first foray forward, and they'll do so through Boscott. Scrappy old ball finds a man on the bounce. It was Roberts who had a man going past in Clever Camp. Flying shot on goal. Almost the perfect start for Lauderdale, but just misses.
Well, it's very similar to what happened at the start of third quarter when Harper had a really good look at it from a Clarence perspective. So, that would have given them a bit of momentum there, Rowie, if he'd have been able to kick that goal.
Fisher outside 50. Straight to Havea, who's the only one under it. So the Lauderdale utility regains possession for the red and black. Just a little kick inside 50, a good one, but just out of the reach of Bryce Walsh. Can't bring it under his spell, and it's out for a throw in.
What a moment that would have been. Clever Camp, if he could have just slotted that one in the opening seconds of this term. Lauderdale still with a chance, though, as they move the ball inside 50. Awkward one for Wiley. Had to met it on the half volley. Chambers gave it back to Wiley, who gave it to Cox. We spoke about him in the break. Sells a bit of candy, but got himself into trouble. Was good enough to get out. Buchner now has the ball. They've made a bit of a meal of this, Clarence, as Cox went after it. Smith comes in. Handball out now to Walsh. Ducked underneath the tackle. Umpire said he's still got one high. So Walsh now gets the footy. He'll want to get things moving immediately. Goes sideways to Wanderton. He'll spread it even wider. Has a teammate out on the wing in Williams, who pops it over the top now to Wish Wilson.
Just like to see Lauderdale get it in long and deep and give Wiggins a chance on Fisher.
So in it goes, and almost a wonderful mark taken back there. Roberts emerges with the ball, thought about going outside of the boot, was caught up in the tackle, got the ball off to a teammate in Heavey, who kicks around the corner and slots the first of the fourth turn.
He's always been a guy who can kick goals, even at junior level for Lauderdale. I watched him play a lot as a youngster, and he knows his way around the goals. And he's been a stalwart now for Lauderdale for a long time, and played at this level for a numerous amount of years. And look, just showed a bit of composure and poise there to kick around the corner, and all of a sudden we're back to a 5-point game, boys.
Composure, just the word, I reckon, Brownie, because Roberts very nearly made a meal of it, but a goal for Heavey and a goal for Lauderdale. They get the first jump here in the last quarter as it's balled up and it's going absolutely nowhere. Be rinse and repeat in the middle of the ground. So Smith with Siggins. Smith palms down. It's Clever Camp who's met in a big tackle from Gleeson. And we'll just continue to repeat. It's been a day of stoppages. Up it goes again. Siggins over the top. Palms down. Brady Jones gets a handball out. Callanan picks it up. Met with a tackle from Anderton straight away. Gathered by Franklin. Off now for Williams. He finds Boscott. Can he be the game breaker? Long down the line. Roberts can't take the mark. Read well by Gleeson. He finds Castle out of defence. A long ball looking for Callanan. Works Anderton under it. Comes to Stanton. Back for Callanan. A spin and a handoff. It's beautiful. And Stanton can goal and miss to the right-hand side.
Gee, disappointing miss. It was a magnificent build-up. Just Callanan, beautiful weighted handball as they did a bit of a 1-2, the dangerous small forwards for the Roos. That would have been a handy goal.
Vintage Callanan spinning out of trouble and almost setting up a wonderful Trent Stanton goal. Wasn't to beat as Alex Hill sends a ball towards half forward. Havia got in front and took a strong chest mark. Been pretty good today, Havia.
He's a handy player for them.
Hasn't done much wrong as he sends a ball towards the wing, which Wilson flew, but it was a great mark at the back by Heavey. He's just coming into this game. His kick is an absolute shocker, though. It sails out of bounds on the full. Chance goes begging for Lauderdale to make a foray forward. So, kick will be taken here as Clarence look to bring it back through Fisher. High ball towards the wing. Not much there except for a couple of Lauderdale players. Clevercamp couldn't take the mark. Callanan took it and spun out of trouble. It was a belated whistle, but it was the right call. Holding the ball as Boscott now moves it forward. Kicks it into space inside the forward 50. Who can take the mark? Stanley was there, couldn't gather cleanly. It's hacked out of there by Clarence, met by Gleeson. Handball over the top too. I think it was Chambers who got it off to Brady Jones. He's in the middle of Blunston Arena and sees something he likes up forward. It's Blackburn streaming back towards goal. Needs it to sit up for him. Did he have the ball? Umpire said yes, he did, or no, he didn't. He did.
Did he get his foot to it? If he did, it was pretty smart play.
I think he might have got his foot to it, but I think it was Josh McGuinness with the tackle.
It was a clutch tackle, really, from McGuinness because it looked a certain goal as they bring it out of defence for a moment, Lauderdale, but it's straight back in through Callanan, Wall and Franklin collide. It's Bell Chambers bustling in, trying to win the footy. He's met with a couple of roofs, and it'll be a ball up just near the arc of 50, attacking 50 for the Clarence Roos. So not much in this ball game, just the 7 points, the advantage for the Roos. Palm down, picked up by Clever Camp over the top. He's looking for Fife, he finds him. Hands it out, finds Williams, immediately gets it moving through hands to Franklin. Takes a while to gather, and then Boscott with a hot potato does well. Gets it moving the right way, finds Clever Camp. It comes to Wiggins, outside the arc, a long way from home. Just picks his kick beautifully and finds Bryce Walsh, who'll hand it off to Franklin, has a good look at goal, and misses.
Danger signs for the Roos. Lauderdale just look like they're getting across the ground a little bit better at the moment, Rowie.
They've lifted their competitive play up a little bit too. It's gone up a notch, and the pressure, and I think maybe some of the egos. We know that technically there's not much to play for here, but we're seeing both teams having a real red-hot crack in this final term as Harper takes the mark. And that was late from Roberts. Lucky that wasn't a little more ugly than it was.
Been quiet, Roberts, just hasn't been able to work his way into the game, but he's still got a fair bit of this last quarter to have some moments.
Oh, that sends it beyond 50. Big fist comes. It's back inside for Lauderdale. Roberts, that man shrugs the tackle, puts it onto the outside of the right boot. And Cam Brown, wowee. You can't keep a good man down, Brownie. Jordan Roberts makes Cam Brown eat his words with a big spoon, with a wonderful outside of the right boot finish. And it's all locked up here at Blunston Arena. Clarence 7-9-51, Lauderdale 7-9-51. We've got a grandstand finish coming up.
Well, it was a great response, wasn't it? I did give him a rev up and say he had a pretty quiet game to date, but he could have some moments, and he did there. Great finish, and scores a level.
Scores a level, and Lauderdale have their tails up. Try and get it out of the square as Heavey. Palmer Hughes been quiet today. He can't get the hands out. The ball keeps on rolling. But eventually it'll stop and be another ball up inside the centre square.
Even though there's not much to play for, which was mentioned throughout the call, Clarence would still want to have a response from their players. They would not want to get overrun here and lose by 3 or 4 goals.
Franklin's starting to have a bit more of an influence on this game too. He finds Ray Hill, who looks to switch it up and find his skipper. Good enough to take the one-hander. And luckily, because it could have got ugly for the Bombers, he kicks it out onto the outer wing. Stanley does well, evades a couple. Kicks inside 50, a long high ball looking for Wiggins. He's jostled aside by Wiley, who takes the grab. So Wiley, a little kick, finds Gleeson. He showed a bit on his return, Gleeson.
Yeah, he's been handy.
Adds a fair bit to this Clarence side. Inside looking for Jones. I've put the mockers on him as Franklin steals. A little kick just to the edge of 50. Ray Hill does well to battle in and take the ball. Coming out is Fife. He's good by hand. He finds Boscott. A lovely bit of delivery, and he finds Wiggins on the chest. And this is what Cam Brown's been calling for. Get it in deep to Wiggins. And they do on this occasion.
I reckon Boscott's had 4 or 5 touches this quarter since going straight into the midfield.
Yeah, the tactical changes from Darren Winter seem to have worked so far in this final term. Will Wiggins put it on the scoreboard. Wanders on in. Gets nice purchase, but never looked like going through the big sticks. That's out on the full, and that's ugly, Cam Brown.
Just trying to think, if Lauderdale been in front, well, when's the last time they were in front? Clarence seemed to be...
Would have been very early stages of this game, if at all. That could have been the first time they were in front, but Wiggins put it across the face. The ball comes out. Wall moves it forward. There's a one-on-one at centre-half forward, but it's met solidly there by the Lauderdale player. He got it into the middle of the ground to Heavey. Plays a bit of 1-2, gets it back. Now Lauderdale will go inside 50. One-on-one there. It was one out. A little kick inside 50 is a good one to Nat Franklin.
He's lifted. He's lifted.
He has.
He's been great today, I think.
Alex Heavey's had a really terrific start to the first 10 minutes of this final quarter as well, boys. Terrific response from Lauderdale. Franklin, he's just got to go back now and kick the goal.
Well, he's full of confidence, Nat Franklin. He turned the back immediately and knew that he wanted to take the kick. And do exactly that as he makes his approach. Kick from right on 50, does so, sends the ball on its way. It's a nice looking kick off the boot, and it is a ripping finish from Nat Franklin, who nails the goal from 50 metres, and Lauderdale skip out to a 1-goal lead.
Well, we know he's had a terrific year, Nat Franklin. Probably a little bit unlucky not to have made the state side early on in the year. Would have liked to have seen him play. And that's a game, a feature of his game that he's really worked on, is his kicking and trying to hurt the opposition with his foot skills. And he really did on that occasion. Really important goal, and Lauderdale in front.
Lauderdale in front and have a bit of purpose about them. They want to get the monkey off their back. It's moved out by Gurgle. Gets it on the far side. Williams with a bit of work to do to track it down. He can't, as it runs over and out for a throw. So, to be thrown in, Lauderdale with a lead by one straight kick. Clarence just looking a little bit flat in this final term. Smith goes nowhere. It's taken by Siggins. Throws it on the boot down the line. Callanan outwork for it. It's picked up by Alex Hill. Tries to hand it out. Doing well was Clever Camp, but he finds an opponent in Webberley who just weaves and works and does beautifully, just Jeremy Webberley. Down the line looking for Wall. He hesitates and it's fisted away from him. It'll be a throw in once more.
Bit of Sam Mitchell style work there from Jeremy Webberley. He just waited for the right moment to strike. Some snake hips. Another boundary throw in on this outer side. Here comes Siggins and Smith. Smith won it down. Harper was there. Clever Camp over the footy. He's claimed by Ling. Umpire says, I'll have it again, please. So, Lauderdale with the only 3 goals of this final term after being 2 goals down at the 3-quarter time break. Skipped out to a 1-goal lead, and they'll look to go forward here. That's a wonderful tackle. Factor to be holding the ball on young Gurgle. Not for the first time today as Wade Wall kicks inside 50. Scrubby old kick. Met on the bounce by Standen, who kicks over the shoulder and cannons it into the post.
Geez, that was, apart from the finish, pretty trademark Standen. He doesn't need many looks at it. He just makes it pay usually. As Hill brings it out of defence and finds Bill Chambers on a short lead. Hands it off for McGuinness. Long down the wing. Out the back was Roberts, and he dealt with his opponent. It was a free kick. That one was there, despite the cries of the Bombers faithful. Into the middle is Fisher. Off the left, a kick that asks a bit of Webberley. He can't take the mark, but he might just track down the pill. He does. Hands it off to the skipper, Brady Jones, in game 100. He takes the kick. He likes what he sees, and he kicks the goal. Clarence strike back and take the lead here at Blunston Arena.
Gee, that was a great goal, wasn't it? And every chance I thought the kick might have been run down and potentially smothered, but only off a few steps. Well done by Webberley too. Just had the presence of mind to lay it back and give that guy, give the player with, the ball in hand a little bit more room to not be, confronted with a lot of congested situations, and it was an important response from the Roos. Gee, we've got a tight one, boys. 1 point to go the difference in this one.
What a moment. Brady Jones in his 100th, one of the great leaders of the competition, and of course this club puts his team back in front against the arch nemesis. We're back in the middle. Lauderdale, though, will look to go forward. Nat Franklin's caught in a big tackle. He took the player on, and the umpire agreed. And the Roos will emerge with the footy.
Just quickly, got a text in from Julie Kay, who's in Italy. Of course, president of Lauderdale, watching this one from Italy, and it's pronounced Gurgle, so we've been butchering it all day.
Sorry, Gurgler. It's Gurgle.
For the record, I probably like Gurgle better.
Yeah, I think we might just stick with Gurgle.
Well, it's good that we're talking about him. It means he's in the game, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's done a couple of nice things. He's had a bit of a baptism of fire in his first game, but he's been okay as Smith wins it down. Ball tracks towards the boundary line. Yet another boundary throw-in. Would that be our first stream view from Italy, Gilly?
Well, I always laugh when Brent Costello says streaming across the world. but he's got a point on this occasion. Not too many followers in Europe, I would have thought, of TSL action, but who knows? Could be the first of many as the ball goes up. Both ruckmen just deal with each other. It's Smith who hands it out. On the outer wing, Clevercamp has had a few nice touches. Just does enough to get some yardage here. Kicks down the line for touch and will be thrown back in.
We are poised. Poised for a grandstand finish, that's for sure. Just the 1 point in it. Clarence with the advantage. All right, 10.58. Lauderdale 8.9.57. Ball comes back in. Roberts gathers cleanly, fires off a handball as Lauderdale looked to go forward. Boscott couldn't track the footy. It was Chambers, I think, or Gleeson on hands and knees who got it back out to the goal kicker in Jones. A tumbly old ball is taken nicely by the Lauderdale player. So back it comes to half forward. Man in front was Wiley, couldn't take the mark. It's Holmes in there trying to just work it forward. Couldn't do so though. And it'll go out of bounds once again.
You both tight ones in the AFL, boys.
Tight ones in the AFL. Tight one here. Oh, I do see that score. Scores a level in Western Bulldogs Port. That's why you're edgy. It's Harper picks it up for the Roos. A high up and under. It's Cox who does well. He's a class act. Takes the mark. Stands under the high ball. Does what he needs to. Kick down the line is a good one for Webley. On his chest. Takes it nicely.
Well, Blackburn free.
Blackburn free, and that's where he heads, but Stanley does well, just moves him under it, but it's out the back to Palmer Hughes. He throws it on the boot and gets it across the line through the big sticks. Clarence forward further ahead here at Blunston Arena, 7-point lead, and that was something from nothing.
Well, he did well, Palmer Hughes, there, because he had to gather the incoming ball, wheeled onto his left foot. There was a little bit of traffic around him, had the potential to be tackled. So it wasn't an easy goal. But Clarence now, with the last two goals, skip out to a 7-point lead.
So Lauderdale went up a gear. Clarence have now matched them. Lauderdale need to find something in the tank. Because just when you thought the Bombers had this game by the scruff of the neck, here come the Roos. Back in the middle of the ground. It's slapped forward by Smith. No player could take clean possession. It's still bobbling around. Gleeson, high ball towards half forward. Blackburn was underneath it. Stanley might have worked him under it. Umpire said no. He emerged with the footy but kicked it into a Clarence opponent. Gets it again. Neat little ball across the ground. Is in the hands of Franklin. Lauderdale go forward again. Wiggins is on the lead. Had to take it on the shoelaces but couldn't. That's almost a high tackle. Umpire said it was. So Holmes thought about the switch, then went back the other way, had the man in Buchner who took on Raymond Hill and did so with aplomb. Little handball was good to Harper. He goes over the top again to Buchner, who was left unchecked. Buchner sends Clarence inside 50. Man was free, and it was Blackburn who's threatened all day. He takes the mark, and Clarence can further extend this lead. They've just sprung to life in the last 5 minutes.
Great play by Buchner, wasn't it? Started with the handball and then a run and receive, and just had that burst of speed. And that's when he's dangerous, when he's got a bit of open space and not necessarily up against some congested situations, and when he can use his athleticism, he can be really dangerous. And it was a great kick inside 50 to give Blackburn a chance.
Bit of Ben Brown to this from Michael Blackburn.
So it's an odd goal-kicking routine from Blackburn, but whatever works, the kick is another stinker from Blackburn. It's barely made the distance, but it's come off hands and kicked around the body. It's going to be chopped off. Gee, that's a worry, that approach and finish. We saw it earlier in the game at the other end. He's done it again. So ball comes out towards half forward. Grace had a good piece of it, couldn't complete the mark. There's players everywhere. O'Brien claims his Lauderdale opponent in the tackle.
I think he might have the yips. Stitchy Blackburn.
I think it might be more than the yips. The whole process needs looking at, I think, as Jones just gets rid of Fife and feeds a handball inside, looking for Gleeson. He couldn't take the ball, but he took his man, and he'll hold it up. We'll have another stoppage here in front of our broadcast position.
So Hayden Smith back in the ruck against Siggins, a former teammate. He comes over the top illegally, and that was there. It will be Smith's kick. He hands it off to Stanley. He's had a couple of key involvements. This kick to Walsh is a good one. He's got Roberts inside. He uses him, but he's been tackled right as he looked to kick. The ball remains there. It was Timmy Castle who arrived just at the right time for the Roos because, geez, it looked dangerous. But luckily for Lauderdale, not a free kick. The ball up. The edge of the square. Approaching forward, 50 for Lauderdale. Over the back it comes. Stanley can't quite gather. A bit of candy from Franklin. It's smothered and almost falls for Smith. Chambers wraps him in a tackle and the big man comes down. Be another ball up. 21 minutes gone here at Blunston Arena.
Pulsating stuff here between these fierce rivals, the Eastern Shore Derby. It's been slow going, but it's certainly lived up to expectations in the last 20 minutes or so as Cox tumbles the ball forward. Fist came, fell into the hands of Walsh. He got the handball back and he took on a couple of players, did the young Lauderdale player. And now Clarence have the chance to go forward through Blackburn. Callanan looks to run onto a loose ball. It's a foot race going back inside Clarence's forward 50. Hill was there, as was Williams. Here in comes Walsh, who just gave the don't argue and just cleared defensive 50 in the Havia direction. Couldn't hold the mark. He's got Siggins for company. Ball spills free. In came Cox, who went again. Handball came over the top from Franklin, who got it to Fife, who just uses his composure and finds Hooker on the lead. Lauderdale now with the ball. They have a chance to go inside 50. Roberts got the handball through to Franklin, who thought he had a teammate coming but didn't. Little ball inside to the one-on-one. Wasn't effective. Fisher will come and mop up for the Roos. Little ball inside is nice. And Clarence will just settle things down here through Webberley.
Out he goes onto the far side and finds Ling. So Ling just cools the jets and looks for Grace. They've got 3 men here, Clarence. They've got a few inside 50 looking dangerous. Blackburn with a bit of space, as does Harper. Will he use him? He opts to go long to the pack. Siggins over the back, almost. It's gathered by Lauderdale. They should get clear through Boscott. Puts out a handball. It's a strange one, looking for Hill or Heavey. The latter receives it. Picked up again, Boscott. A couple of touches. He might just get a third. He does. They picked him as the game breaker and he might just be here. Boscott finds McGuinness off to Franklin. Does well. Rides the tackle. Finds Fife. Looks back in board. Pinpoint handball. Finds McGuinness. Eyes goal. Josh McGuinness puts it through. Just a point in it here at Blunston Arena.
Great call, Gilly, and he was terrific early on, Josh McGuinness, but he's a dangerous player, whether or not it be a half-back or he can push forward and kick a goal. He's rolled through the midfield at different stages today, and a magnificent kick. I don't reckon there's a lot of time left in this one, Rowie. It's been a low-scoring game throughout. Most of the quarters have hovered around that 25, 26-minute mark, and we've just ticked over 24 minutes here. The Roos have a 1-point lead.
The barest of margins, Clarence have that ascendancy. 1 point in it at Blunston Arena as the ball goes up. Havia won it down and tried to fashion a kick out. Clever Camp emerged with the footy and tried to work it forward. Lauderdale fighting on hands and knees, trying to work something. Stanley's in there. He's got Fife on the outside. Couldn't find him. Cox picked his pocket and sent a ball forward. Wall couldn't take the mark. Umpire said he was held. Clarence will get the footy. Wall gets things moving immediately, has a man at half forward, finds him, and now Clarence will just
he's got Blackburn free.
Deliberately go inside 50, and here's that man Blackburn who's been free all afternoon. He's yet to convert for reasons that we won't go into and that we'll probably witness in just a few seconds. But I'm not sure
Look
I'd
how
want
far
him
he's going back.
Kicking for goal, Gilly.
Look how far he's going back. I reckon if the fence wasn't there, he'd wander onto the hill rather. And the arms up, it's awkward.
So Blackburn, he's First 2 shots at goal this match have been absolute horror shows. Can he right the wrongs with the third? No, he can't.
No!
He's kicked it directly into the man of the mark. Blackburn.
It's been a bizarre display.
That is.
They've done it.
There's the siren. It matters little as Clarence claim a 1-point win in an absolute belter at Blunston Arena. Clarence 9-10-64, Lauderdale 9-9-63, and the Roos maintain Eastern Shore bragging rights in one of the fiercest rivalries in Tasmanian football.
I'm not sure what to take out of that, boys. Clarence obviously get the 4 points. We know these teams will be playing again at this very ground, Rowie, in a few weeks' time. Look, they'll go in with confidence, at least the Roos, won't they? They've beaten them 3 times. And Lauderdale, though, having said that, they'll know that their best is good enough to beat anyone on their given day. But certainly Clarence will take the bragging rights for the 3rd time this year. And whether that, I guess in some respects, they're a bogey side for Lauderdale. But I thought Lauderdale certainly responded well in that last quarter, and they certainly had their moments. I thought Heavey in particular at the start of that last quarter got them back into the game, and a magnificent goal from McGuinness. Actually, there's some really good goals kicked in the last quarter, full stop, Gilly. Really important one from Brady Jones. What a bizarre finish there, though, from Blackburn. It's beyond the yips, isn't it? But look, they get the job done, and well done to the Roos. They're probably the better team throughout, and led White for probably 95% of this match, Row, and they get the 4 points.
Yeah, it was a slow old start to this game. It was scrappy and congested, and rain came down at one stage, and there was stoppages aplenty, and nobody really threatened to bust it open. But then that final term is what the fans came to see, and they got treated to a show between these 2 old school adversaries, Clarence and Lauderdale, and they play out another cracking finish. 1-point win for Clarence.
Who do you reckon comes out with more out of this? I know it's a strange thing to say, but Clarence get the win. They keep the mental edge, and they respond after a poor display against North Launceston. But Lauderdale only a point adrift, and they've got some prime movers to come back in.
It's a really hard question because that both coaches did things a little bit differently today. We said throughout there wasn't a heavy tag at all on any player. Different players spent time up forward that are normally down back, and vice versa, and they were happy to roll with matchups which might have been undersized from a defensive point of view. So look, we know Lauderdale had a few out today. Clarence would be pleased that their back line stood up. We thought at some stages that Lauderdale might get hold of them because of Bailey not being there, but to their credit, guys like Fisher, who used some really nice foot skills, particularly in that last quarter. Wiley is an improving player. Grace went back there, normally plays in the midfield or up forward, and Douglas as well. So they'd be pleased from that perspective, I think, Clarence. But Lauderdale, certainly they'll be strengthened by the return of some of the players that were out of the team today.
Bailey's absence probably almost undersold by us in the call, because Clarence did really well to hold them, especially considering they swung Wiggins down there. That probably didn't have the impact that Darren Winter would have been after. But interesting to see whether that Bailey injury is serious, because that'll be a big talking point leading into the finals.
Yeah, it will be. Probably the story to come out of this game, because the match was so even in so many respects. You say who got more out of it. It's hard to say, as you said, Brownie, but I think Clarence, because I think most people probably tipped Lauderdale coming in.
I think the mental edge is a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, and now that they've beaten them, is it 3 or 4 times?
3 out of
3, and I guess 2 on their home ground, and they'll return to this very ground, won't they, in a few weeks' time. So certainly, that's a level of confidence that they'll go into. But both teams probably struggled to get their game on their terms for any long periods. I don't reckon this game got out beyond 14 or 15 points throughout. So they'll certainly, what they will do is be able to go back to the tape and see what went right and how they can adjust things in 2 weeks' time.
Really interesting to see in that first week of finals what is different, what matchups are different, if they run much of anything really similar to what they did today. If we see Wiggins start down back and move forward, if we see him stay down back, if he plays predominantly forward, what Boscott does for Lauderdale, what McGuinness does. It's going to be really interesting to see just how how much of this game they take into that first final in terms of matchups and positioning and game plan and all that sort of stuff.
Now I know what you're after, Brownie. You're after
I
the
am,
votes.
and yes, and as sometimes has been a bizarre trend. Just your 3 and your 1 today, please.
I'm happy to go with 3 and 1. I'll tell you what, a hard game to give votes for. I don't think
no
anyone
one
was
really
dominant.
stood out for 4 quarters. I wouldn't have thought.
I thought if I break it down and I'm just giving 3 and 1 Brent Costello style, is probably the best player of the other side. I thought Jake Cox was very good for Clarence Roos at key times.
Yes.
And I thought Dylan Fife had a beauty of a game for Lauderdale. Just had a bit more composure than others, I thought, in traffic and used it pretty well. In terms of other good players, I thought McGuinness had a really good game. Franklin in the last quarter was decisive, as was Boscott, but probably, yet again, didn't play 4 quarters. The Roos just had a lot of contributors, I thought. No real standouts, but I did like Michael Fisher's game in the back half. So if I was actually giving 3, 2 and 1 and not Brent Costello's ridiculous scheme, I'd probably go with maybe 1 for Fisher, 2 for Fife and 3 for Cox, but not with any great conviction because it was one of those ball games where it was very scrappy and contested.
It was just hard for the forwards of both teams, wasn't it? We saw it open up a little bit, and in periods of times we thought maybe opposition forwards might be able to get hold of the defensive opponents, but no, not really. And it was a scrap and it was a battle for a lot of this game. Both teams were willing to go through the corridor, particularly by hands on occasions, but we saw a lot of 15, 20-metre kicks cut off by the opposition. We saw, both teams, when they had the ball inside their forward 50, pressed up hard, looking for those repeat entries to try and get a goal and readjust again. But no, I like your votes, Gilly. I thought you did a good job. As you know, you can just leave it open for the 2 if you want to. But no, you went back to the traditional way, which we have done for probably 150 years. But Breno just went against that.
Well, the innovator will be back next week, and we'll be back next week from KG5 rather, as the Magpies take on Clarence in the last round of the home and away season. And then we're into finals, and we'll have all the action live on the stream. That's the end of this one. Clarence with Eastern Shore bragging rights, 9-10-64. Lauderdale 9-9-63. They snapped a 7-game winning streak for the Bombers. Hope you've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed bringing it to you. Bye for now.